Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Lords of All People. Start with a Lord Simulator. Chapter 81. Yi Chun had black lines on his face, and when he approached the window, all the centaurs retreated hastily, standing in a row consciously. Ahem, what's the matter with you? They looked at each other, and combed the long hair on the horse's back with both hands, pretending that nothing happened. As the first formation-breaking cavalry summoned, Furban and Foji were much higher than other centaurs in terms of rank and seniority. Furban flicked his hair back, grinning and said, "My lord, we are worried about your safety, and we are patrolling here now." Foji immediately nodded and said, that's right, we definitely didn't come here just by smelling it." Furban's smile was a little stiff. He secretly raised his hind hoof, and kicked the stupid centaur next to him fiercely. Foji said in pain, it hurts. Lord, he kicked me." Yi Chun saw that even Priest Jillian came walking in small steps in 7-7-0, her small nose kept twitching, and her face was slightly flushed. Jillian bent slightly and said softly, "Lord, what are they doing here?" Yi Chun no longer hung their appetites, and moved the freshly opened fruit wine outside the winery under the expectant gaze of the centaur. They swallowed at the same time, but they never dared to take a step forward without Yi Chun's consent. They could only forcibly look away and peek at the wine barrel from the corner of their eyes. Looking at their huge horses, Yi Chun felt that this little wine didn't seem to be too much, and it shouldn't affect today's hunting, right? Well, today I built a new building called Winery. This is the first batch of fruit wine. I don't know how it tastes. Since you are here, let's try it. The centaurs beat their chest muscles, raised their front hooves high, and shouted loudly, "Long live the Lord!" Yi Chun opens the Lord interface, selects the wooden bowl in the toolbar, and 8 large bowls appear in his hand. The centaurs stood in a circle, waiting quietly for Jillian to take out the fruit wine from the barrel with a wooden spoon. Good wine. Your lord is really wise." Hiss. Another bowl. Gurgling. The fruit wine bottomed out quickly, and even Jillian drank several bowls, and the overflowing fruit wine spilled on the cloth on his chest, making Yi Chun quickly look away. It's still the same sentence, I really deserve to be priest. Furban didn't feel drunk on his face, wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and asked in a low voice, "My lord, I drank too fast just now, I didn't taste the taste, is there any more?" Yi Chun slapped his horse. Go, it's hunting time." Furban reluctantly led the other centaurs away from the wine shop, almost turning around every step of the way, with a grudge on his face. The temple warriors were walking towards the granary with their prey on their backs. Seeing Yi Chun here, they put down their prey and came over. DeWitt briefly wiped the blood on his face, and said, "My lord, what's the matter?" He was the first 2 temple warriors summoned, and everyone else recognized him as the captain. Yi Chun pointed to the wine barrel behind him and said, "I brewed some fruit wine, do you want to taste it?" DeWitt shook his head and said, "Thank you lord for your concern. Alcohol will affect our reaction and decision-making, so the temple warriors hardly drink alcohol except for important occasions." Yi Chun nodded, and at this moment, laughter like silver bells came from the air. Hey, my lord, I know everything from Furban." Yi flapped her wings and landed slowly, and Yer followed closely behind. I know it too." Yishin said helplessly. "My lord, I'm sorry, the 2 of them are too naughty." Yi Chun smiled and touched Yishin's head, then turned around and said, "What do you 2 know?" Yi pinched his waist and said expectantly, "He told us that there are delicious things to drink here." Yi Chun took out a bowl of cloudy fruit wine from the wine shop. Yi and Yer frowned, touched the surface of the wine with their lips, and then their entire faces turned red. Bah, I'm so hot. Ahem, that group of centaurs with thick eyebrows and big eyes will also deceive people. Yi Chun and the temple warrior looked at each other and smiled. Seeing Yi and Yer staggeringly flying towards the tree house, Yishin followed closely behind, for fear that they would hit the tree trunk. The output of wild fruit is very dependent on the active picking of celestial beings and centaurs, so the storage capacity of the granary has not been very high. Yi Chun temporarily gave up the plan to make a lot of wine, and it would be nice to let the group of centaurs enjoy themselves occasionally. Night gradually fell. All arms returned to the territory under Yi Chun's arrangement. During the last 3 hours of the void fall, Yi Chun can take the initiative to end the fall or wait for the time to end. The charged ballista still shoots bolts out of the territory from time to time. The oil lamps on the outer wall of the stone castle were shining brightly. Yi Chun stood on the steps and looked around the entire territory. Angelina and the troops were waiting for him to make a decision. The end comes. When the end option on the emulator lights up, the advent time is immediately reset to 0. The dense white mist rapidly spread outward from the stone castle, covering the entire territory almost instantly. Yi Chun was covered in fog and lost all vision, but he could feel the cold little hand in the palm of his right hand. Angelina held his right hand firmly, giving Yi Chun great psychological comfort. When the fog dissipates, the surroundings are quiet, there are no insects or birds, and even the sound of the wind disappears. All arms looked around, and no one spoke first. Yi Chun opened his eyes and said softly, "Welcome to the void." The entire territory seems to have existed here since ancient times. The continuous stone walls are deeply rooted in the ground, and the charged ballista lost its target and stood still on the launch pad. It seems that the land of the void has also entered the night, and the surroundings are dark, only the oil lamps flickering. Yi Chun raised his head, and there was not a single star in the boundless black night sky. After hearing Yi Chun's words, Yi breathed a sigh of relief, spread her wings and flew into the air. "Wow, my lord, is this the land of void? There is only white mist around." DeWitt and Milne are both temple warriors that Yi Chun first summoned from the void, so they are still familiar with this area. But for Yi Chun's ability to bring the entire territory back here, he still showed the same cold expression as a centaur. It's just like a miracle. Praise the Lord. When Yi Chun climbed onto the stone wall, he was still surrounded by endless white mist, but it seemed that as the territory became larger, the distance between the white mist and the territory became much longer. This made him wonder, could the void also have an edge? Yi Chun opened the world channel, and the news that had been swiping the screen before finally stopped, as if all the lords were suddenly disconnected at the same time. Yi Chun thought for a moment, sent out the first message, and hung alone on the world channel. World channel, opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Yi Chun. Hello, world. Stone castle living room. It's so quiet. Angelina was sitting on a chair, and through the window she could see the treehouse with several oil lamps hanging in the distance. The small piece of jungle in the territory also returned to the void, adding a bit of vitality to the place. Yi Chun said, "There is really no sound." The tents of the temple warriors shimmered, wondering what they were doing. There is no need to be alert at night in the void, and all arms are in a state of doing nothing. Yi Chun opened the coordinate bar for the arrival of the void, hesitating between the nightless plain of the southern continent and the foggy forest of the sky continent, and finally chose the sky continent as the place of descent tomorrow. He felt that at least he had to familiarize himself with the environment of each area. There was no beast tide or other things in the early stage, so there was plenty of time like this. And the resources of the sky continent are also very rich, which will not affect the accumulation in the early stage. The 8th day of the supreme continent. The void has also come to daylight. Yi Chun opened the window, the sun was shining warmly on his body, the breeze was blowing on his face, and the fog was billowing and spreading in the distance. Except for the absence of clouds and the Zon blue sky, everything is so normal, and the sun rises from the east as usual. 25 inches. No, I'm taking the direction where the sun rises as the east. It seems that the difference between day and night in the void is not very big, but I still prefer the time of sunshine to the night. Yi Chun didn't descend to the foggy forest of the sky continent first. He took out the lucky Rubik's Cube, which had been on cooldown since the last time he used it, and now it's finally back to normal. Initial unit. A-level Temple Warrior. Number of calls. 2 halves. Each call needs to consume 500 energy points. Second level territory effect. The Lord will have a very low probability of summoning special units. With a gentle force blowing over the top of the head, Yi Chun's right hand was close to the core of the Lord, and he chose to summon all. The core of the Lord erupted with holy light, and the whole room echoed with whispered prayers. A figure slowly emerged. Yi Chun held his breath. The black nun's gown with gold trim tightly wrapped her graceful body, and the hood covered her forehead, revealing half of her fair face. Sister of the Temple, A-level arms, level 1 superior, proficient in holy magic below level 4, skill blessing, can bestow blessing status on allies, increase recovery power by 20% and attack power by 20%. The nun of the temple interlaced her fingers on her chest, raised her head slightly, the hood slipped back, Gold's hair was loosely scattered behind her eyes were clear and full of tenderness. Are you my lord? No. That's right. Yi Chun took a deep breath to calm down. Although the nun of the temple is not as good-looking as Angelina, the pure and holy temperament in her is irresistible. Seeing that the nuns in the temple are still smiling, their eyes reflect their own face. Yi Chun said, "Then you should give yourself a name first." The eyes of the nun in the temple fell, the corners of her mouth rose slightly, and said in a low voice, "The name, so that's how he treats us." She separated her white hands and held Yi Chun's right hand forward, her expression was still so holy. "Then let the Lord name me." The palms are warm and slightly moist. Yi Chun quickly withdrew his right hand, and said, "Then call Emily." The nun of the temple smiled and said, "Emily." "Okay, my lord." At this time, Angelina passed by in the corridor and said with a smile on her face, "Yeah, I guess my dear is here." Oh, is this the temple nun? Did she name herself? Yi Chun still had the residual warmth of Emily's palm in his right hand, and said guiltily, "Her name is Emily." The nun of the temple smiled and said, "This is the name my lord gave me." "Why, my dear, could it be because she can't name herself?" Yi Chun regretted shouting this sentence, because he saw Angelina's smirk, he was deliberately teasing himself. Angelina took Emily's hand and said intimately, "Let's go, I'll arrange a room for you in the stone castle." Yi Chun froze in place. This Shira field seemed to be different from what he thought. Emily's residence is located on the second floor of the stone castle. She doesn't ask too much, as long as she can maintain the most basic life, it is enough. Yi Chun gathered all the troops in front of the stone castle. Emily, DeWitt and the others talked in low voices, and Yi Chun saw the group of temple warriors nodding frequently, with serious and focused expressions. When Yi Chun spoke, everyone fell silent. "Next, I will bring my territory to the foggy forest of the Sky Continent." Yi and Yer showed happy smiles, they really like to change places to play. Others are very calm. For them, as long as they can protect Yi Chun and contribute to the development of the territory, it will be the same anywhere. Yi Chun opened the interface of the phase device. Area 55 of the Misty Forest in the Zetian continent, the number of days to come is 2 days. Thick fog instantly enveloped the entire territory. Light and shadow flicker, things flow. A gust of wind blew by, and Yi Chun felt a slight chill on his cheeks. The entire territory has quietly descended on the Sky Continent area. Angelina raised her head and covered the sun with her hands. It feels like the trees are a lot thinner. When Yi Chun climbed onto the stone wall, although the surrounding area was also surrounded by dense bushes, there was still a difference compared to the towering giant trees that covered the sky and the sun in the elven forest. Yi rushed to the sky excitedly, felt the strong wind sweeping 850 degrees in the air, and spread her wings to fly along the direction of the wind. Furbin raised his spear and rushed out of the territory with other formation-breaking cavalry, and began to familiarize himself with the surrounding environment. Emily stretched out her right hand and applied a blessing status to every temple warrior. "May grace and peace be with you." The silver armor on the temple warrior's body shone with light, and even the scarred face softened. "Thank you for your blessing." World Channel began to buzz. Stones are exchanged for food, some come. It's cold at night. I have a batch of bearskin coats here. I need lattes to exchange for them. Who has spices there? I have A-level troops. I have all important resources here. Yi Chun took a general look, and there is not much difference between this area and the Forest of Elves. The only thing worth noting is that the temperature may be lower at night, so be careful to keep out of the cold. Sudden, Yi yelled loudly and flew from a distance, pulling Yer and Yi Shan behind them far away. Who, my lord, there is a monster with a big stick walking towards here. Yi Chun frowned slightly, then suddenly realized. By the way, there seems to be a giant ogre roaming the area. The formation-breaking cavalry hurried back to the territory, and the temple warriors were also on the way. Yi Chun said in the direction of the ogre, "Don't say I'm bullying you, choose one by yourself or group fight." Yi Chun saw the figure of the giant ogre from a long distance. It is about 3 meters tall, with patchwork armor hanging on its body, and its mouth is turned outward to reveal dark brown fangs. Holding a huge mace in his hand, it was filthy and stained with blood of various colors. Mutated ogre, whose race is unknown, ranks second and upper, has great power, and can restore vitality by devouring flesh and blood. Yi Chun sat on the edge of the stone wall, gnawing on a wild fruit in his hand. It turned out to be a mutated ogre, no wonder the original form is so long. The cavalry who broke the formation had already prepared their posture, and their horseshoes kicked the ground and they were ready to go. They raised their spears horizontally with both hands, and under the blessing of breaking the formation, the moving range of each centaur remained surprisingly consistent. The mutated ogre roared loudly, raised its mace and waved it at the formation-breaking cavalry. Yi Chun saw that the wind wall formed by the breaking formation resisted the attack, and the ogre was knocked out with a bang, with 4 spears stuck in its abdomen. The formation-breaking cavalry drew an arc and detoured. Before dying, the mutated ogre did not forget to make a final struggle, grabbed the stunned goblin by his side and stuffed it into his mouth, crunching and chewing. Sudden, 4 golden holy chains flew from one side, and hit the ogre's face precisely, bursting out with a burst of holy light. It turned out that the temple warrior had just returned and shot to end its life. Furbin led the centaur back to Yi Chun's feet, raised his head and said dissatisfiedly, "My lord. It is obviously dead, or make another charge." Yi Chun threw the wild fruits around him to him, and then said, "You guys did a good job. Although the temple warriors are trying to grab the head this time, cooperation is still necessary, and waiting for the beast horde to come can't be ignored. So reward you with 2 barrels of fruit wine tonight." DeWitt rushed over with other temple warriors, with an apologetic face. "I'm sorry, when I saw the ogre when I rushed back, I subconsciously took action." When Furbin and the others heard the fruit wine, all their dissatisfaction disappeared, and they laughed and hugged DeWitt's shoulders. "Oh old man, it doesn't matter, what's the matter? The Lord said that we should work together and drink wine." Then the ogre's huge mace was moved into the workshop by the centaur, and a lot of iron ore resources were obtained through the smelting furnace. Evening. The climate of the foggy forest in the sky continent is changeable, and the temperature varies greatly between day and night. Yi Chun lit a bonfire in the middle of the territory, and Yi and the others, wrapped in thick blankets, sat around and prepared to drink a bowl of hot soup. On the side table, the centaur held up the wine glass and cheered, and even DeWitt was forced to drink a glass. Yi Chun brought the steaming broth to Yishan, and she smiled sweetly, "Thank you, Lord." Angelina also put on thick clothes like Yi Chun. She hugged Yi Chun's arm and said, "It's really cold." Yi Chun handed her a bowl of broth. "It's okay, starting tomorrow, World Channel will announce the arrival of the beast horde." While blowing the hot air carefully, Angelina said, "Honey, where are we going to get through the first wave of beasts?" Yi Chun also thought about this problem. If you don't consider the void, he now has a lot of areas to choose from. The beast tide in the nightless plane is the easiest, because you know the law of the appearance of the Ender Demon in advance. You only need to hang all the dark places in the territory with oil lamps, and you can pass without injury. But in this way, there will be no food resources and energy points obtained by killing monsters. The animal swarm in the sky continent is the most troublesome. Thinking of the herd of animals falling from the sky, Yi Chun has some headaches, and he is not willing to spend time making a large number of wooden spikes for defense like the simulation. So Yi Chun intends to choose the most normal and safe area. It's in the Forest of Elves. The beast tide is just a monster that has gone berserk. As long as you defend well, you can easily pass through it and get a lot of resources. Angelina laughed. "I knew my dear would choose that." The 9th day of the Supreme Continent. After Yi Chun got up, he saw the Lord's interface flashing a striking red light, and urged himself to open it quickly. A row of red characters appeared at the top of the World Channel. The beast tide will break out in 7 days. All lords are requested to prepare for defense, protect the territory and the core of the lords, and persevere until the end. The news from the Lord surged in an instant. What the hell is the beast tide? Monsters attacking the city. There are only 7 days. This is too rushed. Quick, which boss trades some stones? My territory is still a wooden fence. Ha 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 ha, I have already prepared for the upgrade to the 2nd level territory, and the beast tide and so on, just come. Quote. Yi Chun saw that the exchange rate of stone materials has soared all the way, almost catching up with the price of iron ore. It seems that the news of the beast tide has a great impact on the Lord. It not only changes the price of goods, but also makes other lords who are fishing for fish nervous. Yi Chun wasn't worried at all. The first wave of beasts was nothing but water for him. Even if the stone wall was torn down, the monsters couldn't break into the territory. The spears of the Breaking Legion and the holy chains of the Temple Knights are the strongest barriers. Of course, this barrier is still not as powerful as the Sighing City Wall. Yi Chun's eyes are piercing. He has been accumulating resources these days, and the buildings that could have greatly improved the quality of life have been put on hold, just to get together the materials for the city wall of size. Psy Wall Support. Epic Level Defensive Building. Construction Cost. 2,000 units of refined iron Oregon, 10000 ready units of iron Oregon, 20000 units of wood, 20,000 units of stone, 300 crystal nuclei, 30,000 energy points. It stands there silently like a titan, causing countless enemies to scream and sigh. Reconstruction. When the wall is damaged, it will be repaired automatically. When the wall fragments are too far away, some resources of the Lord will be deducted. Forbidden Field. Any flying objects and magic below the level of the territory will be absorbed by the city wall, and any hostile creatures below the level of the Lord will be prohibited from passing through the city wall. This is the key to Yi Chun simulating again and again, easily resisting all kinds of beast tides. But the cost is so high that Yi Chun can't even build the healing hot spring that Yi Chun wants. Although dealing with the first wave of beasts feels like shooting mosquitoes with cannons, as long as I build them in advance, I can build other buildings with confidence. The hooves of the returning cavalry were deafening. Yi Chun felt the rewards of experience points and saw that his lord level was upgraded to the second order intermediate. The first few steps improve quickly, but the more experience points you need in the later stages. He picked up the Staff of Annihilation casually. A crystal clear water polo appeared on the top of the staff. Under Yi Chun's strong control, the water polo wobbled towards the table, and then fell into the water glass with a bang. Yi Chun picked up the water glass and drank it down. The taste of the water polo produced by using magic is the same as that of pure water, and it even feels a little dry in the mouth after drinking it. According to Whitehead's inheritance, it is necessary to start manipulating the most basic small-scale magic first, and then it will be handy when releasing large-scale magic later. Yi Chun carefully controlled various elements to form the magic ball in the living room. After a while, he felt that his mental power became exhausted, so he sat on a chair to rest. Angelina pushed open the door and came in, holding a handful of green slender leaves in her hand. "Honey, what do you think this is?" Yi Chun walked in front of her suspiciously, first opened his eyes, and got the information that there was no poison. The name was very strange, but he was full of surprises. The leaves of the lilac tree are non-toxic. After baking, brew them with hot water to achieve a refreshing effect. "Isn't this just tea?" Yi Chun excitedly said. "Lena, where did this come from?" At this time, a figure flew in from outside the window. Yi pinched her waist and looked proud. "HMPH. I found this first. Year. No. Obviously I saw it first, and it smelled delicious, but after Yi stuffed it into her mouth, her face was full of pain." "Ashan, you too, don't make fun of the Lord." Yi Chun heard the conversation between the three celestial beings, and instantly understood what was going on. Angelina smiled and said, "They said they would give Furbin and the others a taste of something good, as a reward for drinking. I took it after I saw it." Yi Chun showed a helpless smile. It seemed that Yi was obsessed with the drinking last time, and wanted to find a way to give Furbin and the others a little bit of trouble, but unexpectedly discovered tea, a special resource. Yi Chun patted Yi's head, CFCD, and said, "Good job, don't do it again next time." In their puzzled eyes, Yi Chun took the tea leaves they brought back to the granary, and used the energy map points for simple roasting. The bright green tea leaves are gradually dehydrated and shrunk under roasting, turning into a small handful of dark green filaments. The hot water rushes into the cup with a bang, and the tea leaves are rolled and scattered in it, and the rich aroma will soon be released. Yi Chun took a breath of hot air, took a sip of the hot tea, and instantly noticed that the taste was different from the tea he had drunk before. The unique aroma goes straight to the brain through the nasal cavity, which makes him feel refreshed. "Good tea." Yi's eyes widened. she didn't expect that the thing she used to play a prank would make the Lord so happy. She leaned over with a smile, and took a sip from his water glass following Yi Chun's example. Baji baji. Well, the taste is a bit better than chewing the raw leaves, but still not as good as the wild fruit. Yi Chun helped her straighten her wings. Yi, do you still have this kind of leaves? Yi spread his wings, showing an expression of enjoyment. Of course, Yi saw that there is a large area there, which looks like a common bush. Yi Chun nodded and said, very good. Your task today is to scoop up all that place. Angelina burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha, dear. The three celestial beings each held thick sacks on their feet and flew away into the distance. Yi Chun added half a cup of hot water to the water glass, and drinking tea in the morning made him feel extremely clear. At the same time, it also reminded Yi Chun that although the Misty Forest is not as rich in products as the Forest of Elves, it has such strange resources. Now all the lords are trying to find ways to collect stones and concentrate on building walls to prevent the beast tide. Yi Chun searched on the World Channel, and sure enough, he saw that someone was exchanging spices for some other resources, and the exchange ratio was much lower than before. Soon, a brown animal skin bag appeared in Yi Chun's hand, which was full of ground spices. Yi Chun couldn't help sighing, yo, this lord is quite smart. After he dried and smashed the spices, he divided them into small bags, which not only made it easier to control the exchange ratio, but also prevented other lords from knowing what the spices looked like. Yi Chun scanned it with his divine eyes, and saw that there were 3 different spices and coarse salt that was ground into powder. Pine suyi fragments, non-toxic, have a special aroma after drying. White reed flower seed powder, non-toxic, slightly sweet taste. Mandela fruit fragments, non-toxic, spicy taste. Yi Chun pinched a little and put it under his nose. I heard that it is a spice for barbecue, it should smell good. Angelina took out a large piece of fresh meat from the granary, and then cut it into small pieces with a knife. Yi Chun used sticks to string them into several skewers, and grilled them slowly over the fire. Barbecue spices are sprinkled on the meat skewers, and the smell of meat mixed with spices burst out instantly. Angelina didn't care about burning her mouth. She took a bite of a piece of skewered meat and tasted it carefully, and said with a satisfied face, my dear, it tastes delicious. Yi Chun took a sip, and it was indeed like the barbecue flavor he had eaten before, plus the quality of the monster meat was very high, and it had a mellow aroma. It seems that this bag of spices really bought the right one. Noon, Yi and the others dragged Yi Fei back with a large bag of collected tea. His face and hands were filthy, it was indescribably funny. Look, Lord, there are still a lot of them, and we will pick them up in the afternoon. Yi Chun nodded with a smile and handed them the spiced broth. Wiped his hands, picked up the broth and took a sip. His eyes lit up instantly. Wow! Today's broth tastes different. With the addition of centaurs and temple warriors, the 2 big pots of broth were quickly emptied. Yi Chun changed a few more bags of spices, and explained how to use them to the temple warriors in detail. As long as they learn it, they don't need to make it themselves. Considering returning to the void tonight, Yi Chun flicked his wrist, and took out a scarlet arrow, which was heavy in his hand. The arrow body had a wooden feel, but it made a crisp sound when struck. Arrow of Truth, epic level special item. After shooting it, it will teleport all the troops within 3 meters near the Lord to the landing point, and consume a certain amount of energy points according to the number of teleported troops. It's time for a drill. DeWitt and other temple warriors stood quietly in a circle. Yi Chun stood in the middle, holding the arrow of truth in his hand, and saw that the current consumption of energy points was 200 points. The cost is almost acceptable. The arrow of truth burst into scarlet light in Yi Chun's hands, drawing an arc in the air and flying out of the territory above the stone wall. Yi Chun quietly waited for the truth to drop. According to the view just now, the location should be the open space in front of the forest. Sudden, the black mist erupted outwards with Yi Chun as the center, and quickly enveloped the surrounding temple warriors. The arrow of truth sank into the ground and stood obliquely on the ground. The mist was generated out of thin air, and the figures of Yi Chun and the temple warriors slowly emerged. This feeling is similar to void falling, but the time is very short, almost teleported to the landing point in the blink of an eye. Yi Chun picked up the arrow of truth, and the temple warrior pulled out the holy chain with both hands, guarding the surroundings. My lord, this place is very dangerous, let's go back. What's the danger? There's no such thing as a monster, okay. Yi Chun did not refute either. For the temple warriors, the safety of the Lord is the meaning of their lives. Every time Yi Chun wants to go out of the territory, it will make DeWitt and the others extremely nervous. About 2 minutes later, the arrow of truth cooled down, and Yi Chun returned to the territory in the same way. Angelina waited on the spot, smiled and said, "Honey, how do you feel?" Yi Chun said, "Very good, the speed is much faster than expected. If the enemy does not understand this item, it will definitely catch the opponent by surprise." The sun was setting. The sunset glow reddened the sky, and a group of figures slowly returned. Yi and the others brought the last bag of lilac tree leaves back to the territory. "Hoo-hoo, my lord, I'm so tired today, all the leaves that can be picked have been picked." Yi Chun messed up the short hair of the three of them, and said, "It's a great help, I'll take you to the alchemy workshop tomorrow, okay?" Yishin, who has always been calm, said excitedly, "Really? Really, my lord, I have long wanted to go to the alchemy workshop." Yi Chun nodded with a smile, thinking that if they just asked them to make some simple healing potions, there would be no danger. Open the Lord interface. Yi Chun saw that his stone materials had reached more than 15,000 units, timber had reached more than 20,000 units, and iron ore was less, only 13,000 units. Through the continuous hunting of the formation-breaking cavalry and temple warriors, the number of crystal nuclei is also 192. Very good. It seems very hopeful that the city wall of sighing will be built before the first wave of beasts. Yi Chun chose 2 days for the coming of the Sky Continent, and today is the last night. In the early morning of the 10th day of the Supreme Continent, the entire territory returned to the void under the shroud of white mist. Yi Chun did not come to the Forest of Elves in a hurry. Because a line of prompts popped up on the simulator interface, which cheered him up. Due to unstable factors, the void land will descend on the beast tide in 5 days, 15 hours and 25 minutes, and the host can choose to fight or descend on other coordinates. There are beast tides in the void. Yi Chun saw that on the World Channel. A striking banner also appeared, and the object of the reminder was only himself, because there are no other lords in the void. The beast tide will break out in 5 days, 15 hours and 25 minutes. Lords, please prepare for defense, protect the territory and the core of the lords, and defeat all incoming enemies. It's not like in the Sky Continent, where I was asked to persevere until the end, but to defeat all the enemies. Yi Chun immediately decided to try a simulation first. After entering the highest continent, Yi Chun also tried to simulate it. Different from the simulation on Blue Star, the simulation results in the territory are extremely simple, and sometimes only 4 words are safe and sound as a day's summary. Yi Chun adjusted his thinking to first come to the Forest of Elves for 5 days and then return to deal with the beast tide in the void. Day 10. You come to the Forest of Elves, everything will be as usual. Day 11. Your territory is developing normally. Closing square bracket. Day 12. All safe and sound. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Day 15. You return to the void to build the wall of size. Yi Chun is not surprised by this. According to Angelina's plan, enough resources for the city wall of size can be accumulated in about 15 days, so the construction of the city wall of size in 15 days is completely in line with expectations. Day 16. Samar's clone emerges from the thick fog. Yi and Yer are unfortunately torn into pieces by it. You kill it before the city wall of sighing is shattered. Yi Chun froze for a moment. Yi and Yer were torn apart. He hastened to open the window. Thick fog still shrouded the area around the territory. Yi and Yer laughed and fought in the air, while Yishin gnawed wild fruits below them. Thinking that such a lively celestial being would be devoured, Yi Chun's heart twitched. Celestial beings have excellent eyesight, and when they saw Yi Chun's window open, they flew over quickly. Yeah, sir, your complexion is not very good. Yi stepped forward and pressed Yi Chun's foreheads against each other, imitating Yi Chun's way of taking temperature. Il and Ashan worried. Master Lord, are you sick? Feel the warmth from Yi's body. Yi Chun's expression gradually returned to normal. He hugged the 3 of them gently, and said softly, "It doesn't matter, I just didn't wake up." Seeing that Yi Chun returned to normal, they changed back to smiling, arguing about going to the alchemy workshop. Yi Chun looked back and saw Angelina returning to the room, and said, "Lena, can you take them to the alchemy workshop to make some potions?" Angelina stared at his face for a while, then smiled and said, "No problem, dear, but you have something to tell me." Yi Chun hummed, watching Angelina lead Yi and the others away. Day 17. You watch over their corpses and weep bitterly. Closing square bracket. Day 18. You lit the fire with your own hands and decided to forget everything. Day 19. You built a grave for them. Day 20. Your territory is developing slowly. The simulation stops here. Yi Chun took a deep breath. Fortunately, he has the simulation function for 10 days, which can save him from the tragedy. Where did Samar's avatar come from? I have already built the city wall of size. Why were Yi and Yer killed? Yi Chun thought about these issues seriously. Lord points can refresh a simulation opportunity, so only with a clear mind can we ensure that such a tragedy will not happen in the next simulation. Do you want to use 500 Lord points to refresh the simulation opportunities? Yes, start the simulation server. Seeing the exact same development a few days ago, Yi Chun held his breath and looked down. Day 15. You return to the void and build the city wall of sighing. Day 16. You let the 3 heavenly beings stay in the stone castle. Samar's clone emerged from the thick fog, and you saw Yi and Yer flying out of the territory without hesitation, turning into 2 blood flowers. Yi Chun frowned. What happened to Yi and Yer? Also, why didn't Yishan fly out with them? The last simulation was the same, only Yi and Yer were killed by Samar's clone. Yi Chun sat on the chair and tapped the table with his index finger. All 3 of them are identical in race, class, and even gender. Yi Chun looked out of the window and murmured, the only difference seems to be personality. Samar, 150, Original Sin Wrath. Looking at the entire territory, it's hard for me to imagine how Yi and Yer are really angry. So it is. If you understand it from Original Sin, then everything makes sense. Yi Chun stood up. He is sure now that the Samar clone that attacked this time is not the same enemy as the Samar clone in the Nightless Plane. Because in the simulation of the Nightless Plane, my initial unit was also the Celestials, and when I met Samar's clone, the Celestials didn't rush out of the territory, but they used their vitality as the price to break the Sighing City wall. The avatar of Samar entering the void this time probably has some kind of mental attack, which will make Yi and Yer lose their will. Yi Chun immediately thought of 3 ways to deal with it. The first is very simple and rude. Directly tie Yi and Yer and lock them in the territory so that they cannot move freely. But this approach relies too much on the simulation results, and if the mental attack has some kind of sequelae, it still can't save them. The second is the Lord talent. Yi Chun saw that only one talent in his talent column had spiritual effects. Brave Gold. When your troops enter other territories, all participating troops will gain the effect of high fighting spirit, double the attack power and defense power, and ignore any spiritual attacks. When you join the battle, this effect is doubled. Unfortunately, you need to enter other territories to trigger the effect of ignoring mental attacks. Yi Chun opened the simulator. There are very few talents with spiritual resistance in the talent store. Most of them are blue talents, which can only provide a small part of the spiritual resistance of the troops. Then there is only the third method left. A strong wooden staff appeared in Yi Chun's right hand. Stand of Oblivion. Mythical weapon. The branch of the World Tree was finally found by the great demon mage Whitehead as his staff. Whitehead's inheritance. The holder's understanding of magic is beyond ordinary people, and he can use most magic with ease. Forbidden magic. The holder can release the 7th order magic cracking aura once a day, eliminating all magic factors around. Natural affinity. The holder will gain the favor of the elves, and can freely enter the area where the world tree takes root. I remember that in the land abandoned by the gods, the cracking halo has a certain effect on facing the spiritual coercion of the gods, so it must be more than enough to deal with a clone. The 2 simulation opportunities today have been used up, and Yi Chun plans to try again based on this idea tomorrow. Suddenly, there was a roar outside, and green smoke came out from the direction of the alchemy workshop. Yi Chun rushed out of the stone castle nervously holding the staff of annihilation. How could someone attack before the beast horde came? Angelina and the 3 celestial beings stood on the stone wall, and a thick green smoke rose into the sky outside the territory. Yi Chun boarded the stone wall, looked down and saw that the lawn outside was bald, and the dark green flames were burning faintly, emitting acrid thick smoke. Second level magic, torrent impact. A jet of white steaming water sprayed out from the top of the annihilation staff, instantly extinguishing all the flames. Yi cheered and said, "Wow! Your lord is so powerful, he extinguished the flames in one go." Angelina said helplessly, "I planned to take them to make some common potions, but I didn't expect Ethan to see the blueprint of the evil fire bomb, so." Fortunately, it was a false alarm. Yi Chun said with a smile, "That's okay, I didn't expect the evil fire bomb to be so powerful." Yishan raised her head and saw that Yi Chun didn't mean to blame herself. She smiled and said, "Yeah, I didn't expect making alchemy props to be so fun." She was holding a spherical flask in her hand, and the top of the bottle was blocked with a dark brown clod. The spherical transparent glass is filled with a green viscous liquid, and bubbles are formed and burst in it, making a gurgling sound. Evil fire bomb. Alchemy props. Materials required. Crystal nucleus powder of the scavenging coyote, 2 units of crystallization solvent, 5 units of bonding solvent, 50 energy points. The creator needs to follow the steps to operate. There is a certain failure rate. Effect. Form a flame with a corrosive effect, which will extinguish itself after a period of time. The breakaway cavalry was long overdue. They had just explored the dense fog outside the territory, and hurried back after seeing the fire. Furban stepped out onto the bare lawn, stooped and picked up a handful of blackened dirt. What a lethal alchemy tool! Even the soil below has been infiltrated and melted. As a soldier who is proficient in combat, he is very clear about the effect of this kind of prop. If it is used to attack the enemy, it is definitely obvious. Angelina secretly observed Yi Chun's side face. Seeing that his expression had really eased up and was no longer tense, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "My dear, I encountered some trouble just now, but it seems that has a solution. No, I must torture him tonight." Yi Chun shuddered inexplicably, wondering if he had made a mistake in judging Samar's clone. When all arms returned to the territory, DeWitt wiped off the silver armor on his body and came to Yi Chun. "My lord, the white mist still hasn't changed, but the distance from the territory has extended back again. When we want to enter it, we will still encounter some kind of resistance and cannot pass through it. We tried to attack with the holy chain, but the white mist could only dissipate a little bit, and then it returned to normal immediately." Yi Chun nodded. "Very well, I see. It seems that Samar's avatar still has certain strength, and it depends on how he prepares to be able to appear in the white mist through a certain method. The 65th area of the Western Continent's fairy forest, the number of days to come is 5 days. The territory came to the Forest of Elves again. Yi Chun stood on the stone wall and looked out. The surrounding scenery did not change at all, as if he had never left. Emily stood aside, looking up at the shade of trees in the air. This is the first time she has come to the Forest of Elves, and there is a trace of novelty on the holy face. Yi Chun opened his hands and said, "How about it? The air here is very fresh." Emily took a deep breath, and the close-fitting nun's clothes were slightly wrinkled, which made Yi Chun's eyes widen. "Clothes won't be ripped." Emily smiled and stretched out her right hand, and gently straightened his side face. "My lord, staring at me like this, I will be very shy." Yi Chun blushed. "Sorry." In the world channel of the Forest of Elves, there is also a countdown to the arrival of the beast tide. The lords talked a lot. "Why hasn't the beast horde started yet? I'm ready. Who will compete with me for the fastest speed? Pull it down, don't be so frightened that you hold the lord's core and cry. I feel that chimpanzees are always doing things behind my back recently, but their loyalty has increased. Will this happen to you too?" 25. Congratulations to this big brother. Either you are going to be happy, or they are going to be happy. Yi Chun couldn't help but look for Angelina. She is very happy every day. Yi and the others put their heavy coats back into the tree house. Compared with the foggy forest, they prefer the environment of the Forest of Elves. Yi Chun returned to the Lord's core room and added 2 subordinates to DeWitt. Although the warriors of the temple do not have the powerful ability to break the formation of the formation-breaking army, they have obvious advantages. Yi Chun can safely leave other trivial matters to them, freeing himself from such things as cooking and patrolling. DeWitt quickly accepted 2 new temple warriors, whom they named Nelson and Basil. Yi Chun held 6 animal skin bags in his hand and handed them to him. These are tea leaves collected by Yi and the others. You can drink some of them during hunting breaks to refresh your mind. DeWitt took the animal skin bag flatteredly, bowed his head and said, "Thank you, Lord. We will definitely improve the hunting efficiency and strive to collect more monster crystal cores." After the temple warrior left, considering the need to deal with Samar's clone, Yi Chun must find a way to strengthen his combat power. Although the simulation result is very simple, I successfully killed Samar's clone before the Sighing City wall was shattered, but it will definitely go through an unimaginable fierce battle. Yi Chun doesn't take things lightly, so the next step is to head to the workshop. The armor on the temple warriors will increase with their level, and there is no need to make additional equipment for them. Yi Chun picked the drawings from the long table, and a silver projection appeared in midair. After refining, the ore is forged layer by layer to become a curved steel sheet, and then the monster leather is processed and soaked to combine all the spliced parts together to form a simple armor. Smart light armor. Rare level defensive equipment. Materials required: 20 units of fine iron ore, 10 units of second-order monster leather, 200 energy points. Effect: the overall weight is reduced by 30%, and the defense effect on the vital organs of the body is increased by 150%. All the effects are excellent, especially the weight reduction effect, which can benefit Yi and the others or the centaur. Yi Chun didn't rush to build it, but looked at the next blueprint. Boots of rapidity. Rare level defensive equipment. Materials required: 2 units of fine iron, 1 monster crystal core, 20 units of second-order monster leather, 200 energy points. Effect: increase the movement speed of the wearer by 15%. Yi Chun thought of the 4 horseshoes of the group of centaurs, and recalled that when he was playing games, he joked that a hero needs to buy a few pairs of shoes for a few legs, and now this problem is really brought to the fore. The answer is that it cannot be worn. Because for celestial beings and centaurs, horseshoes and sharp claws are the tools they use to attack, and neither can wear shoes. In this way, Angelina and I, by the way, and Emily can wear the boots of speed. Yi Chun added the dexterous light armor and the boots of haste to the forging bar, and then heard the clanging sound of forging in the workshop. Soon a smart light armor will be freshly released. Yi Chun picked up this dark gray armor from the forging table. There are steel plates for protection in every vital area, and the light armor looks huge, but it is actually very light. When the nimble light armor was put on Yi Chun, all the belts began to tighten gradually, and even the steel plates were deformed, adjusting to fit his body size. Yi Chun used the mirror world to summon a mirror, and saw that he is now like an ancient warrior. If he is equipped with the Sword of Holy Light, he will definitely win the championship in the cosplay conference. But it's not necessarily true. Their selection criteria should still be young ladies first. The boots of haste come to about calf height and are made of dark black leather with a soft to the touch surface. After Yi Chun put it on, he felt the weight of his legs lighten instantly. It is definitely the most comfortable boots he has ever worn. When Yi Chun brought these new equipment to the open space, Angelina and Emily came from the direction of the alchemy workshop talking and laughing. "Ah, my dear, you are so handsomely dressed. What are you going to do?" Angelina looked Yi Chun's clothes up and down, her eyes full of strange enthusiasm. Emily pulled down her hood lightly and said, "My lord, where are we going to attack?" Yi Chun felt that Angie 123 Lena was staring at him a little hairy, and said, "This is the battle preparation for the beast tide, everyone has the appropriate equipment." Angelina quickly replaced the dexterous light armor and the boots of rapidity, and she instantly became heroic when wearing the equipment, which made Yi Chun admire that she is worthy of a succubus, and she can easily control any style of clothes. Emily simply put on the boots of haste. The light armor would affect her use of blessings, so she didn't wear them. The formation-breaking cavalry came galloping from the gate. On the back of Furbin's horse, Yi and the others grabbed his fur tightly and said excitedly, "Speed up." "Hurrah, this is what the Lord said about drag racing." Furbin stopped in front of Yi Chun, turned back to comb the long hair on the horse's back, and retorted, "I'm a trooper, not a cart." Under Yi Chun's command, they quickly switched to the nimble light armor, but there was a small problem when Priest Jillian wore it. Jillian pulled the dexterous light armor on her body and said, "My lord, I feel like I can't breathe." Fortunately, some materials can be added in the workshop for modification. After Yi Chun added some refined iron and leather, the nimble light armor finally fit Jillian's figure, which made everyone heave a sigh of relief. Being too big is sometimes a sin. Yi Chun saw the happy faces of them getting the new equipment, secretly touched his fists. The tragedy of the first simulation must not happen. The 11th day of the Supreme Continent. Come on, my dear, I will definitely be able to defeat Samar's avatar, Angelina said with a smile, and then walked out of the living room to prepare some breakfast. The torture last night was obviously very effective, but Yi Chun didn't intend to hide from others about resisting the beast tide in the void. It's just that he wants to be able to confirm complete victory before announcing it, so as to avoid unnecessary panic. Yi Chun has made up his mind. This simulation must keep Yi and Yer by his side, and when Samar's avatar attacks, immediately use the 7th order cracking aura to resist. The simulation begins. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Day 16. Samar's avatar emerges from the thick fog. You release the 7th order disintegration aura to relieve Yi and Yer's frenzied state, and you successfully kill it before the city wall of sighing is shattered. Day 17. You got an unexpected item. Day 18. Your territory is developing normally. Day 19. All safe and sound. Yi Chun breathed a sigh of relief. This time it finally succeeded. Sure enough, it's some kind of mental attack that will drive Yi and Yer into a state of frenzy. Fortunately, I have the Staff of Annihilation, otherwise I can only choose to resist the tide of the royal beast in other places. Unexpected item. Yi Chun is a little confused. The description of the simulator is too naughty. Essence of the Lord. Drawings. Epic level special items. It doesn't matter, anyway, you will know what it is on that day. The simulation results made Yi Chun finally feel at ease. At least Yi and Yer would not be injured by Samar's attack, and he could also get rid of Samar's clone. Yi Chun did not relax his vigilance, but went to the workshop to make a very useful item. He picked up a small drawing from the long table. The aerial projection is also very simple. The molten iron mixed with crystal nucleus powder is poured into the mold, and after fine grinding and carving, a small metal is formed. Purification metal. Rare level special item. Materials required. 1 unit of fine iron ore, non-demon crystal core powder, 50 energy points. Effect. The wearer will gain divine power, which can weaken the breath of demons and increase the damage caused to demons by 20%. Note. The effect of the purification metal cannot be superimposed. This is the special reward for the second wave of beast tide in the Evernight plane. Every lord will get a blueprint of a purification metal, which is equivalent to an additional benefit. And Yi Chun has already got it in his hands ahead of time. The cost is cheap, the effect is easy to use. Combined with the situation of the nightless plane, it can indeed significantly improve the survival rate of the lord. Yi Chun made a purification metal. It is bright silver as a whole, shaped like a sharp sword with wings. After Yi Chun held it in the palm of his hand, a gentle force gradually spread from the palm of his hand to his whole body, as if he was in the warm afternoon sun, and then this feeling disappeared slowly, leaving only the purification metal glowing slightly. That's right, it works as long as you wear it, even common people can use it. The 12th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun summoned all the troops in front of the stone castle. I want to announce one thing. 4 days later, we will attack the tide of royal beast in the void, and the enemy who comes to attack is the original sin demon, Samar, who has the name of Wrath. It will send a clone to attack from the dense fog, which is very likely to destroy the entire territory. When all the arms heard the news, their expressions were solemn at first, and then their eyes were filled with high-spirited fighting spirit. DeWitt looked back at the resolute eyes of the other temple warriors, nodded approvingly, and then said firmly, "Our temple warriors will swear to the death to protect the Lord, to defend the territory to the death. Samar wants to destroy the territory. There is only one way to go, and that is to step over our corpses." The cavalrymen who broke the formation changed their normal behavior. They didn't raise their front hoofs and yelled, and they didn't ask Yi Chun anything. All the centaurs moved in unison, gently bent their front hooves and knelt down, then stroked their shoulders with their right hands, and bowed their heads deeply. The formation-breaking army is ready to attack at any time. The 3 celestial beings were taken aback by the serious atmosphere. Yi said weakly, "My lord, we will work hard." Yi Chun shook his head and said with a smile, you have an important mission to fight Samar's clone this time. Yi was surprised. Could it be that we are used as bait, and then? Yi Chun knocked her on the head and continued, your task is to stay by my side from the beginning of the beast horde until the end of the battle. Although Yi didn't understand, she still said happily, yeah, I like staying with the Lord the most. Seeing other people's puzzled eyes, Yi Chun explained, this time, Samar's avatar will exert a special frenzy effect, and Yi and the others will be affected the most. I will use magic to help them get rid of their abnormal state. So, you should also be affected to varying degrees. If you feel something is wrong, return to the territory immediately to rest. Emily said, my lord, we have a third-order sacred magic dispel technique, which can also relieve abnormal effects, and we will try our best to cooperate with other people when the time comes. Yi Chun's eyes lit up, and with her words, he felt more at ease. Because the frenzy effect is likely to affect the combat effectiveness of the Breaking Legion and the Temple Warriors, causing Samar to attack Yun unscrupulously. Now having the dispel technique can solve this problem very well, Li Haojiao. Although it is definitely not as powerful as the 7th Order Cracking Halo, it can also offset the influence of Samar to a certain extent. Each class intends to express themselves in this battle and impress Yi Chun. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chun took out several wooden square boxes and distributed them to all arms. The name of this item is the Medal of Purification. It has special effects against demons. I will give it to you now, hoping to defeat Samar's clone in one fell swoop. The eyes of the Temple Warriors are fanatical. They can personally feel the sacred power in the Purification Medal. For them, this will be the best reward. Seeing them pinning purification medals to their clothes, Yi Chun had a confident smile on his face, full of confidence in the battle 4 days later. Samar, no matter how many clones you have, I will kill them all. The 15th day of the Supreme Continent. There was just a heavy rain last night, and the entire territory was washed by the rain, giving it a new look. The number of granaries has increased to 3, and one of them is a 2nd-level granary, which is far larger in size and scale than the 2 first-level granaries next to it, and can store 5,000 units of food. Yi Chun's Lord level has reached the 3rd lower level, and he is more comfortable using the Annihilation Staff and the Talent Mirror World. Zzz. A series of purple lightning surrounded the Staff of Annihilation. Yi Chun's right hand was filled with tingling sensation, and then he swung the staff forward forcefully. The crackling electric light broke away from the Annihilation Staff and moved forward, instantly turning the 2nd-order sharp-toothed leopards wandering outside the territory into charcoal, and then the electric light began to spread on the ground, forming a green and purple grid. Yi Chun wiped the sweat from his forehead, and said with a satisfied face, as expected of a 3rd-level magic thunderstorm technique, the damage and range are amazing, but it will consume a lot of mental power. The news of the Lords on the World Channel is gradually increasing, and the beast tide is about to come the next day. Most of the Lords are discussing defense preparations. After building the stone wall, I feel much safer. I don't know if it can withstand the impact of the beast tide. I plan to send troops out of the territory. B-class cars and mad warriors should be able to pass through the beast tide without pressure. Mengxin only has A-level units, and I feel a little shivering. At this time, DeWitt led the Temple Warriors back to the territory. They all wore a mirror image of the Holy Light sword on their waists. Although it only had half the strength of the original version, it was much stronger than the common level long sword. Yi Chun also tried to take the Staff of Annihilation out of the mirror world, but dragging it took away his mental power in an instant. Fortunately, Angelina hugged Yi Chun in time, and he was not too embarrassed. In the end, it can only be concluded that there is a huge gap between mythical and rare weapons, and the 3rd-tier lower lords cannot obtain the mirror image of the Annihilation Staff at all. DeWitt put down the wooden block on his shoulders and asked, Lord, do we still need to go out? Yi Chun opened the Lord interface, and the amount of all resources was maintained at a height that other lords could hardly match. With the number of crystal nuclei reaching more than 300, all the building materials for the Sighing City wall have been collected. No need, you go back to rest after decomposing the prey in the granary. Obey, my lord. Angelina boarded the stone wall, walked up to Yi Chun and gently held his right hand. Honey, don't worry, I will always be by your side. Yi Chun smiled confidently, I know. Then the entire territory was shrouded in white mist and returned to the void. In the open space in front of the stone castle, all classes are staring at Yi Chun, and everyone is preoccupied with hunting and gathering resources these days. And under the arrangement of Yi Chun, the cooperation between the temple warriors and the formation-breaking cavalry became more and more proficient. The momentum of breaking the formation can quickly divide the battlefield, and the temple warriors can quickly find the enemy's weak points to attack through rich combat experience. Although this time the enemy is only Samar's avatar, Yi Chun did not dare to be careless at all, and decided to use the strongest combat power to deal with it. He is now holding a long scroll inlaid with gold edges. When the scroll is opened, a giant gold projection appears in midair. The magnificent city wall surrounds the entire territory, and an arc projection similar to a novice protective cover is vaguely formed on it, completely covering the sky above the territory. Whether to build an epic-level defensive building. Sighing city wall. Put up. The scroll in Yi Chun's hand turned into light spots and flew into the air, and the resources in the Lord interface were instantly emptied. Boom boom boom. The entire territory trembled violently, and the stone walls surrounding the territory were covered with cracks and then collapsed, turning into stone resources and returning to the warehouse. Immediately afterwards, the towering city wall rose from the ground, and countless gravel and soil were shot into the air, and were all bounced out of the territory by the transparent protective cover above. Yi Chun looked around the entire territory, sighing that the dark city wall (CFCA) gradually climbed up from the ground, and finally closed in the direction of the alchemy workshop, forming an amazing defensive barrier. Yi stared straight at the sighing city wall, opened his mouth slightly and said, "It's too powerful, Lord." Yi Chun led all the troops to the city wall of sighing. The dark wall seemed to absorb all the light, and there was a hole for storing fortifications at intervals. Standing on the city wall, the view is extremely wide. Yi Chun stepped on the sighing city wall, surrounded by a great sense of security. What enemy can break through such a majestic building? Evening. The territory is brightly lit. 2 huge iron pots were simmering broth, and the temple warriors threw chopped wild vegetables and plant roots into the soup, and the soup was rich and exuded a strange aroma. Yi Chun took a piece of monster meat and turned it into 2 big bags of special pancakes. When the Lord level reaches the 3rd lower level, the taste of the special biscuit does not change much, but it has the effect of quickly recovering physical strength. Everyone sat around the fire and drank the hot broth, which made the body full of comfort after a day of exhaustion. Yi Chun drank the broth in his hand, broke a special biscuit and threw it into his mouth. The plan remains the same. Everyone has a good rest tonight. Tomorrow will be a hard battle, but we will definitely win. Obey your Lord. Follow your instructions. Come on, come on. The 16th day of the Supreme Continent. Outside the territory, both the temple warriors and the formation-breaking cavalry wore purification medals, looking resolutely at the white mist in the distance, holding weapons in their hands and ready to go. Sigh on the walls. Yi Chun is fully armed, with the sword of holy light hanging on his waist, and the staff of annihilation in his right hand. Yi and the others clung to Yi Chun's body tightly, their wings tightened and trembled slightly, their expressions looked very nervous. Angelina smiled and stroked Ashan's head and said, "Don't be afraid, the Lord will protect you." Yishan raised her head. Sudden. The thunderous cracking sound shook the entire void, causing everyone to cover their ears. Yi Chun squinted his eyes, and saw that the white mist in front of the right was filled with black lightning, and the white mist was generated and decomposed, finally forming a temporary vacuum. A dark gap opened in the clearing. A pair of red-skinned hands tore open the cracks, and then the hill-like body walked out slowly, and the wings covered with red flames spread out, reflecting the white snow into blood red. It looked around, and finally fixed its eyes on Yi Chun on the sighing city wall, and then raised the trident in its hand. "My name is Samar, are you ready to bear my wrath, mortal?" The flame-covered wings of Samar's clone flapped up and down, and the red body slowly flew out of the thick fog. The moment it left the white mist, Yi Chun felt like his brain was being shocked by electricity, and his blood became hot all over his body. With a headache, he used his eyes to observe the abnormal state of his body. Frenzy. Samar pours its wrath on everyone, whether strong or weak, you must fight it to the death. Yi and Yir's expressions were painful, and their eyes gradually turned red. They looked at the gigantic winged creature in the air, as if they had found an outlet to spread their wings and fly away. Yi Chun embraced the two of them with his left hand, and held the staff of annihilation tightly with his right hand. Spiritual power surged into it crazily, and a transparent halo appeared on the top of the staff. The sky above the entire sighing city wall became extremely dark, leaving only a halo of countless bright spots. When Yi Chun couldn't hold it anymore, the cracking halo exploded with a bang. The circular shock wave spread outward from the top of the staff, and even the sighing city wall faded to gray. Yi Chun felt that his brain became extremely ethereal, and all the thoughts in his mind became blank, and he could only stare blankly into the distance. Facing the impact of cracking the halo, Samar's clone submerged the trident deeply into the ground. The skin on his body exploded into countless pieces, and then instantly restored to its original state, but the blood red became. The dense fog around the territory finally changed. With the spread of the halo of cracking, the white fog quickly melted, forming a circular vacuum zone. When the cracking halo disappeared, Yi Chun finally regained his sanity. What did I do just now? By the way, how are Yi and Yer? Yi Chun looked down and saw Yi and Yer laying peacefully in his arms. The frenzy on them had been lifted. Yishan looked weak, but did not fall asleep, and tried her best to support the bodies of the two to prevent them from falling down. Yi Chun saw that the surrounding white mist was slowly recovering, and Samar's avatar also stood up straight and picked up the trident again. Is the 7th level magic really so terrifying? It's hard for Yi Chun to imagine that an auxiliary magic can have such a powerful effect. Even Samar's clone can't resist it. Samar's clone. Original Sin. Rage. Level. 5th level superior. Frenzy field. All creatures that approach it will be in a state of frenzy, and it can temporarily expand the range of the frenzy field by 5 times. I see. When it walks out of the dense fog, it expands the field of frenzy, thereby affecting all creatures in the territory. And now, the cracking halo released by Yi Chun has cleared everyone's frenzied state. It's time to launch a counterattack. Samar yelled angrily. Ants. The cavalry who broke the formation shone with holy light, and even the wind wall formed by the formation breaking momentum was stained with white breath. Wearing nimble light armor and wearing medals of purification, they charged against Samar. For the Lord, the formation-breaking legion raised their spears high and threw them upwards forcefully with the momentum of breaking the formation. Dozens of spears made the sound of piercing the air like self-shaped arrows. Samar picked up the trident with both hands and swept forward, splitting the spear, and the mist spear slashed across his arm, leaving a deep wound. It stretched out its long tongue to lick the wound, its huge body slid down, and roared, "I will die." Boom! The hill-like demon body collided with the formation-breaking cavalry, and a huge roar erupted. Countless soil and flames flew around, as terrifying as a volcanic eruption. When Samar spread his wings and was about to return to the air, Yi Chun saw a bottomless crater on the ground, and the cavalry who broke the formation scattered around, and their bodies were covered with flame-burning scars. Sudden, a beam of light flew to the centaur's body, and the wounds on their bodies healed quickly. Then a large net composed of holy chains fell from the sky and covered Samar's body, billowing black smoke like a red-hot iron chain. While Samar was struggling and roaring, the temple warriors rushed forward to bring the centaurs out of the combat area, and then cast a spell to relieve their frenzy. You guys did a great job, it's our turn now. Samar gradually broke free from the large net formed by the holy chains. Black coke formed on the dull blood-red skin, slowly recovering under the squirming of flesh and blood. Emily's blonde hair was windless, and she clasped her fingers and shed 2 clear tears. If there is a merciful God, he will definitely put chains on you as an eternal punishment. Samar's feet were instantly bound by the shackles emitting light, and he couldn't break free standing still. The warriors of the temple swarmed up, and the mirror image of the sword of holy light left countless scars on it, and the holy magic burst out one after another, forming countless flashes of light. Samar held the trident and knocked the temple warriors in front of him into the air, and then slashed down without hesitation. Crack! The sound of bones breaking sounded, and countless blood sprayed out. It cut off its feet and spread its wings to fly to the territory. Samar's body was covered with bruises, blood dripped down from his ankles, and made a sizzling sound when it stained the ground. Seeing it flying towards him, Yi Chun held the staff of annihilation without any intention. Boom! Samar threw his trident with all his might, knocking out a huge crack in the city wall of sighing. Ants, just relying on you to try to establish the kingdom of God. Yi Chun shook his head. God kingdom? No, I just want your life now. Samar laughed arrogantly. Ha 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 ha, just rely on you half-assed mage. No, actually, I have another identity, the name is Judge. A gold scale appeared in front of Yi Chun. An invisible hand added weights to the left and right of the trays on both sides. Yi Chun saw the monstrous flames from the weights composed of these memory fragments, and countless people were buried in it. Gold's balance was instantly out of balance, and a small gavel with gold rims appeared in Yi Chun's right hand. Samar's clone, I declare that you have committed the crime of rage and sentence you to death. The mallet struck down heavily, making a crisp sound. No, I will not be wiped out by this trick. I am going to kill you. Samar struggled to reach out his hand to grab the trident, but his movements became slower and slower, and his expression became more and more distorted. As the flames on the wings go out, its entire body and the trident turned into black ashes and dissipated in the air. Congratulations to the Lord for successfully passing the beast tide. Yi Chun closed his eyes, and showed a relaxed smile before losing his will. It's finally over. Next. Chapter 91. So soft. Yi Chun bowed his head forward in a daze, and vaguely smelled a good smell, and felt a strong sense of tolerance. My lord, are you awake? Wait, that's not Angelina's voice. Yi Chun opened his eyes suddenly, and the towering nun's clothes in front of him blocked his entire vision. Living room. Emily hugged Yi Chun's head tightly in her arms, and a faint gold light radiated from around her body, illuminating the entire room brightly. Yi Chun twisted his neck slightly, and finally could see Emily's smiling face. Emily, what is this doing? My lord, everyone was very scared after you fell into a coma. I am using the fourth order holy healing technique to help you recover your mental strength and injuries. The fourth order holy healing technique. Yi Chun really felt that the headache had almost disappeared, and his whole body was as soothing as soaking in hot water. Thank you. Do you need to use this posture for the holy healing technique? Emily's eyes drifted aside. Of course, anyway, the temple warriors can only use the third level magic at most, that's how the holy healing technique is like. Boom boom boom. There was a knock on the door, and Yi Chun heard Angelina's excited voice outside. Wow, are you awake, honey? Emily sat up, gently flattened the nun's clothes on her body, and the light spots of holy healing around her gradually dissipated. Yi Chun leaned against the head of the bed and said, Lena, I'm fine. The wooden door slammed open. The three of Yi rushed in first, and threw themselves on Yi Chun. Warlord, you're finally awake. My lord. Yi Chun stroked their wings, and it seemed that after the beast tide ended, the two of them woke up earlier than themselves, and were not harmed by the frenzy. Angelina walked in with a smile, but it could be seen from her frizzy hair that she was also very nervous and scared during the time Yi Chun was unconscious. Furbin squeezed into the room with great difficulty, and the wooden door frames on both sides were slightly deformed by the large body of the horse. DeWitt followed closely and saw Yi Chun, who was safe and sound, crossed his hands in a prayer gesture. Seeing their concerned eyes, Yi Chun was inexplicably moved in his heart, and said, Sorry, I made everyone worry. It's good that the Lord is fine. The other units walked out of the room with smiles on their faces, leaving only Angelina and Yi Chun. Angelina gently hugged Yi Chun's head, and said in a low voice, Next time, don't include yourself in the battle plan. Yi Chun said, Well, according to the simulation results, it is true that Samar's clone was eliminated before the city wall of Sighing was broken. Angelina's small nose twitched a few times, and her slender eyebrows raised. Honey, why do you have a familiar smell? Ahem, how long have I been in a coma, ha ha ha. Really, I'm going to prepare dinner. After Angelina left, Yi Chun saw the dim yellow sky outside the window, but he didn't expect that he slept from morning to afternoon. Yi Chun opened the Lord's interface and saw that all the troops were in the list intact. This was a complete victory. Facing Samar's clone, he didn't lose a single soldier. The Sighing city wall has been automatically repaired, and even the scratches left by the battle outside the wall have all become smooth. In the end, Samar's avatar turned into black embers and disappeared, leaving no corpse or weapon for Yi Chun, but almost all arms were raised by a small level. Now Furbin and the others have reached the fourth lower level, and Yi Chun's Lord level has also reached the 3rd upper level, which is only one step away from the 4th level. Yi Chun looked forward to it. Just wait until tomorrow the animal tide rewards will be released. Night fell. There were bursts of cheers in the territory. More than a dozen barrels of fruit wine were randomly placed on the table, and the centaurs drank heavily, bragging about their military exploits desperately. Ha 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 ha, little Samar's avatar was vulnerable, and had to be knocked dizzy under our powerful charge. Yi Chun smiled and took a mouthful of meat skewers sprinkled with spices. The collision between the broken army and Samar's clone reminded him of bowling. Samar is the bowling ball, and the centaurs are the neatly arranged pins. The temple warriors also raised their wine glasses. They admired the fearless charge of the formation-breaking legion. It was the first round of charge that allowed Samar's clone to be restrained and had to run away. Although Yi and the others did not make any contribution in this battle, to Yi Chun, it is the best relief that they are safe and sound. There are no monsters in the void, so everyone can relax completely, and the grand celebration will last until late at night. The 17th day of the Supreme Continent. After Yi Chun got up, he saw that the World Channel hadn't distributed the animal tide rewards yet, so he came to the room of the Lord's Corps. Yesterday, the formation-breaking army showed great strength. If there are 2 such teams, even Samar's avatar will be afraid of 2 rounds of fearless charges. Yi Chun's right hand was close to the core of the Lord, and he decided to summon 2 formation-breaking cavalry again. A burst of light burst out from the core of the Lord. A loud hiss sounded from under the stone castle, accompanied by the sound of waking up the nose. Chun was surprised. No way, could it be? Outside the stone castle. Shire horses up to 2 meters tall at the shoulder roamed the lawn. Its horse's body was covered with gray and white hair, and its forehooves were covered with long black hair. When it saw Yi Chun walk out of the gate, it happily ran towards him with small steps. Yi Chun looked up at the Shire horse. It was hard to imagine a horse with such a huge body. Shire horse, A-level armament, the 1st level superior, has unparalleled strength, allowing the Lord to equip any city defense device with any weight allowed. The special unit of the Breaking Legion Shire horse. Yi Chun combed its mane with his hands, and after equipped with the appropriate city defense device, it will become a walking fortress on the battlefield. I named you Harlan, how about Harlan? It bent its horse's head and rubbed Yi Chun's arm affectionately, looking very satisfied with the name. When the formation-breaking cavalry returned to the territory, they were stunned when they saw such a huge Shire horse. Oh my God, my lord, there is such a huge horse body in the world. Look at the broad hooves, no monster can resist its trampling. Yi Chun saw the cavalrymen surrounding the Shire horse praising Shire, and regarded it as his comrade in arms. At this moment, the World Channel announced that the animal tide rewards will be distributed in the territory. Yi Chun opened the Lord's interface, and first saw the rapid increase of various resources, almost 1/3 of the amount when building the city wall of size. And in front of him, there was also a golden treasure chest. Yi Chun squatted down to open the treasure chest, a dazzling light flashed, and a deep brown wooden box appeared in the treasure chest. Matryoshka. Yi Chun picked up the wooden box and saw that the glittering golden treasure box turned into a phantom and disappeared. I remember the simulation results said, this will be an unexpected reward for me, it won't be another box after opening, and there will be nothing in the end. The dark brown wooden box was slowly opened, this time there was no light and no smaller boxes. A drop-shaped emerald green object lay quietly on the deep red cloth. Yi Chun saw that the top of the water drop had curved roots, and the whole looked like an extremely luxurious gemstone. Shenmue only gave an extremely simple comment, but it made Yi Chun's hands tremble slightly. Seed of the World Tree. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Is the World Tree you mentioned the one I understand? Yi Chun took out the Staff of Annihilation with his backhand. When the two approached, the seeds of the World Tree gave off a green light, and even the Staff of Annihilation produced countless emerald green light spots, which melted into the surface of the seeds one after another. 25 inches as a branch of the World Tree, the Annihilation Staff is already a mythical weapon, and I will have a World Tree of my own. After the Annihilation Staff disappeared, the seeds of the World Tree returned to their previous appearance, emerald green and full of vitality. The Shire horse stretched its neck, sniffed its scent gently with its nose, flicked its ears and narrowed its eyes slightly. Yi Chun could even see its intoxicated expression. The formation-breaking cavalry was not so excited. What is the world tree? Can it be eaten? Angelina came to Yi Chun and showed a surprised expression after hearing that it was a world tree seed. Really? Let's go plant it, Yi Chun said. Of course, I thought about it just now. Let's plant it in Yi's forest. With the gradual expansion of the territory, maybe another elf forest will be formed. Angelina gently pinned her hair behind her ears. Elf, we have to work harder. The two came to the forest where the heavenly man was. After the expansion of the territory, no wood was collected here, and it remained the same as before. Yi and the others also liked to fly back and forth among the branches, and then go back to the treehouse to rest. Yishan saw Yi Chun and Angelina coming from a distance, and slid from the treehouse to the two of them. Welcome, Lord and Sister Angelina. Yi Chun smiled and patted her head. Where are Yi and Yer? Yishan said. They ran to see the traces of yesterday's battle. It is said that there are all kinds of deep pits there. All right. Yi Chun brought the seeds of the world tree to the middle of the forest. It was originally a hill, but after being collected as stone resources, it became an open space, and now it is covered with grass. After the seeds came to the woods, they emitted a slight light, which made Yi Chun very excited. He didn't expect it to be able to sense the surrounding environment. This emerald green light should represent joy, right? Angelina stomped on the ground, and the soil in the center of the open space surged, forming a deep pit the size of a bowl. Yi Chun nodded at her, and gently put the seeds of the world tree into the deep pit. Then take out the staff of oblivion. 4 crystal clear water jets surround the top of the staff, and under Yi Chun's control, they connect end to end and fly into the sky as if chasing each other. Third order magic water cage. The 4 water jets instantly covered the deep pit, and countless crystal water droplets fell like drizzle, making the entire grassland crystal clear. The water cage could have trapped the enemy in the center, and then relied on the cutting force of the water column to hit the enemy hard, but Yi Chun chose to slowly disintegrate it, creating a small-scale drizzle. The drizzle gradually dissipated, forming a bright rainbow under the sunlight. Yi Chun and the others stood quietly in the distance. Angelina wondered, my dear, is it? There is a sudden change in the deep pit. Emerald green light spots shone across the entire grassland. They gradually emerged into the air, and then poured into the deep pit one after another. Immediately afterwards, a fresh green seedling broke through the ground, and it gradually grew upwards, with countless roots circling around the seedling, and finally formed a half-meter-high sapling. Seedlings of the world tree. Growth period. Natural growth. The growth speed of all plants in the area is increased by 300%. Natural enchantment. The owner of the world tree can set an enchantment, and creatures that do not comply with the rules will not be able to reach the center of the area. It's done. Yi Chun was overjoyed and never thought that he really planted the world tree in his territory. And the world tree that is just a seedling has 2 effects. Needless to say, natural growth. This forest will become more and more dense as the territory expands. Seeing the natural enchantment, Yi Chun remembered the effect of the annihilation staff in his hand. Natural affinity. The holder will gain the favor of the elves, and can freely enter the area where the world tree takes root. Yi Chun smiled. This means that I can break through the barriers of other world tree masters, so tell me what you want. Right now, there are only his own troops in the territory, so Yi Chun doesn't plan to set up any barriers. When the territory expands in the future and the number of people increases, he can consider restricting them from entering and leaving this area. Ethan hugged Angelina excitedly. She could feel that after the seedling appeared, the whole forest became full of vitality, and even the air smelled much better. Great. Lord 120. Walking out of the tree Lin Shi, Yi Chun looked back. Under the action of the seedlings of the world tree, the leaves between the branches are bright green, and even the withered grass on the ground has sprouted new shoots. As expected of an unexpected reward, Yi Chun is in a good mood, and the unhappiness of fainting after the battle yesterday has been forgotten. Compared with the beast hordes in other places, the void land is extremely dangerous, but the rewards are also extremely rich. It seems that if there is a second wave of beasts coming in the void, I have to prepare in advance. As for the area that will descend next, Yi Chun has already made plans. That is the plain of Nevernight. Because in 2 days, which is the 19th day of the Supreme Continent, a whole herd of mad cows will appear on the nightless plain. They will wreak havoc on the plains, destroying buildings in other territories, and then walk away. Yi Chun didn't come to the Evernight Plain with the idea of killing harm for the people, but for the beef and leather resources of these mad cows. Veteran hunters like DeWitt and the others need to find prey in the woods and kill them. This group of mad cows is completely equivalent to a small wave of beasts. When all arms return to the territory, Yi Chun opens the emulator interface. Choose Area 71 of the Nightless Plain in the southern continent, and the number of days to come is 2 days. The dense fog gradually dissipated. Yi Chun rubbed his arms. The temperature in the Nightless Plain was a little bit colder than that in the Sky Continent. Climbing up the city wall of size, the front is an endless plain area, while the rolling hills can be seen behind. Yi Chun twitched his nose, turned his head and said to Angelina, "Let's go to the workshop to make some clothes later." Yi flew down after circling a few times in the sky. "My lord, there are only some bushes here, I still like the environment of the elf forest." Yishan tugged at her wings and said, "Don't complain. The lord has his own plans." The temple warriors were still the same, first praising the lord on the spot, and then stepped out of the territory to investigate the surrounding environment very carefully. Even David, who had risen to the 4th level, was not careless, holding the mirror image of the Sword of Holy Light to cut down the weeds, looking for the monsters hidden in it. The only ones who were excited were the group of centaurs. Furbin and the others clattered their forehooves, their ponytails kept shaking, and Democracy held his spear tightly and waited for orders. For them, it is such a happy thing to be able to let go of the horseshoes and run unscrupulously, and the only thing that can compare with such a vast plain is the beautiful bar of the Lord. When Yi Chun nodded, the cavalry who broke the formation yelled and galloped out of the territory, with excited smiles on their expressions, leaving a straight track on the grassland. Yi Chun was also touched by them, and said to Harun with pride, "Come on, I'll ride you and go out for a turn." Harun came to Yi Chun obediently, and then slowly lay down on the ground. Yi Chun grabbed its mane with his left hand, drew his whole body in a semicircle in the air and sat on the horse's back. At this time, Yi Chun felt that there was a person behind her suddenly. She hugged her waist and put her head on her back. Angelina said, "Honey, let's go together." "No problem, drive back." Harlan stepped on his horse's hooves and slowly lost his way outside the ancient territory. The temple warriors surrounded Yi Chun outside the territory, forming a dense humanoid network to ensure that no monster would approach. And above the territory, 3 celestial beings hovered around the territory, and saw that under the automatic attack of the charged ballista, several magic lions who wanted to approach were nailed to the ground and could not move. The Nightless Plain is flat. Yi Chun didn't feel the slightest bump when sitting on the horseback. The 2-meter-high shoulders had a very wide field of vision, and he could easily see the temple warriors who were checking the movements of monsters in the distance. Most of the monsters here like to hide in the grass and then attack suddenly. There are also monsters like the little devil horse that cause damage through collision. The two walked around the territory under the escort of the temple warriors. After the sun came out, the whole grassland was warm and peaceful, with a relaxed and freehand feeling, which made Yi Chun smile unconsciously. Angelina pressed against his back, and said behind Yi Chun's ear, "Master, should I go back?" It was the first time for Yi Chun to hear her call herself this way, and she felt that it was both fresh and full of temptation. "No. No problem, let's return to the territory." Angelina whispered, "My lord, I was seriously injured yesterday, please help me take a look." After seeing Yi Chun return to the territory, DeWitt finally breathed a sigh of relief. He would rather fight 10 monsters than see the Lord standing on this dangerous grassland. Even if the Lord has powerful magic and miracles enough to destroy demons, we must not take any chances. The other temple warriors said with serious expressions, "Yes, Captain." Noon. Yi Chun leaned on the wall and walked out of the living room. Angelina was mentally damaged, but he was actually physically damaged. In short, he still couldn't escape. After experiencing the beast tide, the Lords of the World channel became extremely active. When the Ender Demon comes out, it will scare me to death. Fortunately, the arms are powerful, 1 knife at a time. What Ender Demon? I turned on the lights all night yesterday, for fear of being attacked by monsters. Why is there nothing? What did you get out of your treasure chests? I took a garbage blue talent, and I feel like I'm at a loss. A rare blueprint, mounted on a stone wall, can help me shoot enemies, so cool. Quote. It seems that the first wave of beasts in the Nightless Plane is still the Ender Demon, and most of the lords can pass through smoothly. Of course, lords who have not passed cannot speak on the World Channel. Before that, Yi Chun was still a little worried. Because according to the simulation records, the third wave of beasts in the Nightless Plane will appear Samar's clone, which can cause huge damage by consuming vitality and actively lowering its own level. Not even the Sighing Wall could stop its brutal attack. Therefore, Yi Chun was worried that if he met Samar's clone in advance in the void, whether it would have a certain impact on the plane of Nevernight. So far, nothing abnormal happened. Quote. That's good, otherwise the plan will be disrupted. Quote. Harun wandered around in the territory, gnawing on the grass with his head down from time to time, and then shaking the pile of fur. Yi Chun found Harun and took him to the area where the cavalrymen were. The place was well planned by Angelina. The road was paved with neat stone slabs, the road was very wide, each centaur had its own house, and there were wooden figures for chopping in the yard. Yi Chun picked a quiet place and opened his hands. A stable taller than the common room was slowly built, with a wide field covered with straw bedding. There is also a large stone trough on the side for storing food such as grass. There is a simple switch on the sink, and clean water can flow out with just a slight flip. A huge wooden comb appeared in Yi Chun's hand, and he helped Harun comb his long hair vigorously, Wang Dahao, and then patted his stomach. Harun walked briskly into the stable, and quickly learned how to turn on the switch under Yi Chun's teaching. Yes, just move your mouth to the side. The outlet immediately began to flow spring water. After a while, the water tank was about to overflow, and Harun stuck his horse's head in, and within a few breaths, the water tank was empty, and he drank everything. Yi Chun couldn't help but sigh. With such a big body, the lung capacity is estimated to be more than 10 times that of his own. Harun snorted after drinking the water, turned the horse's head to turn off the switch, and then rubbed Yi Chun's palm with his wet nose. This is your home. If there are other Shire horses in the future, the stables will be built along here to form a whole horse farm. At this time, Angelina came from a distance with a huge wooden box in her arms, and said with a smile on her face, "Honey, guess what I brought?" The wooden box fell to the grass with a muffled sound. Angelina quickly opened the top of the box, and took out a set of giant saddle-like brackets from inside. The bracket is made of leather and fine iron, with a thick pad underneath as a buffer. Yi Chun called Harun over, and the two put the holster around its abdomen, and put the whole bracket on its horse's back smoothly. "How are you feeling, Harlan?" Hearing Yi Chun's words, it quickly circled around the stable, which was nothing to the huge body of the garrison horse. Yi Chun praised. "Very good." He opened the Lord interface and found the equipment on Harlan. "Do you want to install the charging ballista on the base?" "Install." Harlan stood still, and 4 brand new rechargeable ballistas slowly emerged from the horseback. Their launch ports were slightly raised upwards, and the attack range could cover the entire semicircle area in front of Harlan. After adding 4 powered ballistas, Harlan's pace was only slightly heavier, which did not have much impact on his actions. After Yi Chun checked that there was no problem, he opened the Lord interface and removed all the devices on Harun. The base and charging ballista disappear instantly, and the next time you want to use it, you only need to summon it in the territory. Angelina said proudly. "How about it? The device I designed is very good." Yi Chun rubbed the magic horns on her head with a smile, and Angelina lowered her head showing unnoticed shyness. The 18th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun put on thicker clothes, and the morning in the Evernight Plain was still a bit cool. Interesting content finally appeared on World Channel. You may not believe me if I tell you, my territory was attacked by a group of mad cows just now. Fortunately, they only destroyed the stone wall and warehouse on one side. It's really frightening. Crazy cow. Ha 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 ha, what is there to be afraid of? How can the big brother above talk half the time? Isn't it? Yi Chun almost laughed out loud. It seems that there are mad cow herds in various areas, and before they are completely wiped out, they will keep going to the next bad luck lord's house. According to the simulation results, they will come near my territory tomorrow, and there will be beef to eat by then. Boom boom boom. Yi Chun looked up and saw 2 crushed CFCB, smiling faces pressed against the window glass. Alas, Tell Yi and them to come in through the gate next time, it feels like they are about to trample on the windowsill. Yi Chun stretched out his hand to open the window. Yi and Yer fell in with a crash, feathers were flying in the room. Ashan complained behind them. You two don't always enter the Lord's room through the window. Yi rubbed his head and smiled. Hey, Lord, what good things have we found? Only then did Yi Chun discover that they all had animal skin bags hanging around their waists, which were bulging and covered with some dirt. Can't wait to dump the contents of the bag on the table. Yi Chun took a look. I'll go. Where did people get so many mushrooms? Where did you get it? Ethan said. It's in the woods. It's grown so much overnight. It turns out that under the influence of the world tree seedlings, all kinds of plants in the forest are growing crazily, including various types of mushrooms. Yi Chun opened his eyes and saw that many of these brightly colored mushrooms are poisonous. Poisonous fly mushroom. Contains toxins, which will cause respiratory failure to the eater. Cyclosporum. Contains toxins, which can make the muscles of the eater sluggish. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Yi Chun carefully separates the toxin-containing mushrooms. After his lord level reaches the 3rd level or above, he also has a certain resistance to this toxin, but if he eats it, it will still affect his health. The poisonous mushrooms were thrown into the trash can by Yi Chun, leaving only ugly edible mushrooms with flat caps on the table. Yi Chun's appetite is whetted, and the soup made from mushrooms is the most delicious. Yi and Yer looked at those brightly colored poisonous mushrooms with some regret, thinking that such beautiful mushrooms are actually very poisonous. They really were cheated. Noon. Yi Chun cooks it himself, cleans the mushrooms, puts them into a large pot and simmers them fully, only uses a little coarse salt, and does not need to add additional spices. The fresh meat that has been processed in the granary is submerged in the white soup, and an extremely delicious smell wafts in the air. Even DeWitt cocked his feet slightly and his throat slid up and down. Finally, in the eyes of everyone's expectation, Yi Chun took a bit of mushroom soup with a spoon, took a sip, and stretched his whole brows. It's delicious. It's almost tongue-in-cheek. Yi wiped the saliva from the corner of his mouth, and said coquettishly, My lord, I want to drink too. Yi Chun picked up the wooden bowl and said, Come, everyone has a share. Umami is the top taste that people have been pursuing since ancient times, and now it is all integrated into this pot of soup. Every soldier savored the thick soup carefully, and even Emily, who had the smallest appetite, drank 2 big bowls. Yi Chun said with satisfaction, I didn't expect to be able to taste this level of mushroom soup here. I don't know how the group of mad cows will taste tomorrow. The edge of Area 71 of the Nightless Plain in the southern continent. Under countless trampled hooves, the entire grassland was crushed and turned into flat ground. At the head of the herd, a huge mad bull covered in red bloodstains was pacing the ground vigorously, with white-hot air coming out of its huge nostrils. Its eyes were red, and it stared at the stone wall blocking its path. It buried its head deeply, and its whole body suddenly doubled in size. Boom! The stone wall crumbled and shattered under the impact, and the cattle followed the leader's footsteps through the entire territory, razing all the buildings blocking the road to the ground. Then the leader of the mad cow continued to move forward without looking back, leaving only a messy territory. After the mad cows left, the gnolls on guard in the territory began to collect the destroyed stone walls to minimize the loss of resources. The lord hiding in the granary trembled. Seeing the mad cows rushing away, the whole person collapsed to the ground along the wall. His entire back was drenched in cold sweat, and seeing that there were no casualties in the territory except for the destroyed buildings, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then solemnly send a message to the World Channel. The mad cows passed by my territory just now. You must remember, don't resist, they will not look for the core of the Lord, try to minimize casualties. The 19th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun was wearing a coat and standing on the city wall, sighing. The sky was dark and closed, and the cold wind blew across the grassland, making a swishing sound. Angelina moved a stove and placed it among the crowd, dispelling the chill a lot. Yi landed from the sky and approached the stove to keep warm. My lord, those mad cows are ahead, they are walking slowly. Yi Chun handed her a bowl of hot water and squinted into the distance. Sighing outside the city wall, the formation-breaking cavalry was ready, and Harlan stood in the middle of the formation with 4 charged ballistas on his back, like a moving fortress. Finally, the bushes in the distance were uprooted and thrown into the air, and a herd of black cattle slowly extended to the periphery of the territory. Yi Chun's face leaked joy. Hey! It's really a lot, enough for me to eat for a long time. The leader of the mad cow raised his head and looked at the dark city wall, which was different from the walls it had encountered before. And it almost lost its mind, and it can feel the fear from the bottom of its heart. The leader of the mad cow let out a muffled grunt, and his entire body blew up like a balloon, almost twice its previous size. At this time, its eyes turned completely red, and there were 2 red lights shining on the dark grassland. The entire herd of mad cows was infected. They made a neighing sound, and rushed forward following the leader's pace. For the Lord! With a roar from Furbin, all the centaurs raised their spears, forming a sharp cone-like breaking formation, and the herd of ancient mad cows charged head-on. Harlan buried his head deeply, and before colliding with the mad cows, the charged ballista on its back sprayed out several giant arrows in an instant, and the leading mad cows hit the ground heavily, and then were trampled into a pool of flesh mud. Yi Chun held on to the edge of the city wall, only the deafening sound of horseshoes remained on the nightless plain. Boom, 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 huge crashes sounded one after another. The formation-breaking army pierced deeply into the herd of mad cows like a sharp sword. Under the impact of the formation-breaking force, the mad cows were thrown high into the air, struggled and twisted their bodies, and then smashed deep holes one by one on the grassland pit. Yi Chun looked carefully. The leader of the mad cow hadn't fallen yet. The shattering legion continued to charge forward, and the leader of the mad cow held Furbin's hands, leaving a long ravine on the grassland, and finally half of his body was buried in the ground, making a crazy roar. There were several spears stuck in its body, its 4 hooves sank deep into the soil, a pair of huge horns were grabbed by Furbin, and the blood-red bull Fat and Furbin looked at each other. Harun broke away from the team, stepped over the stunned cows with his huge and broad hoofs, and came to the leader of the mad cows. Under the sign of Furbin's eyes, it raised the horse's body high, and gave the mad cow leader the final blow with his indestructible front hooves. The mad cow leader in Area 71 of the Evernight Plain in the southern continent has been killed by the Lord, Yi Chun. Yi Chun was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that he would become famous because of this kind of action. Boss, I'm in Area 71, and now I can finally sleep well. Woo, it's ridiculous. The people in your country must have used some despicable means again. Otherwise, I, Quan Shing Ono, would be the one who killed the leader of the mad cow. Yi Chun saw a large wave of praise and alliance-seeking speeches appearing on the World Channel, and a familiar name also appeared on the Vision King. Oh, this be Ono Quanxing, I almost forgot about you. How dare you come out and dance now? However, I remember that he has super strong assimilation of B-level arms, goblin warrior and purple talent. Maybe he really has the power to fight against the mad cows. Yi Chun said helplessly, I'll take care of you when I finish dealing with other things. From the moment the mad cow leader was killed, people in the Nightless Plains have been asking about Yi Chun's information. After all, the person who can report on the World Channel must be a powerful boss. However, in the next few days, news of the killing of the mad cow leader came from other areas one after another, which temporarily covered up Yi Chun's conspicuous performance. Yi Chun turned off the World Channel. Anyway, his territory is located in the void, so feel free to come and find me. Furbin looked excited and carried the leader of the mad cow back to the territory. Its huge bull's head was deeply sunken in the middle, and Harlan's trampling almost destroyed the entire skull of the mad bull leader. My lord, this battle is too enjoyable. The cavalrymen who broke the formation were covered with white heat, and their entire chests were covered with bright red cow blood. When they saw the ale Yi Chun had prepared, they opened their mouths wide and picked up the barrel to drink it. Yi Chun stretched out his hand to touch the layer of cowhide. It was extremely thick and felt very good. It looked like high-quality leather. Noon. The temple warriors cooperated with the formation-breaking cavalry to bring all the intact mad cows outside the territory into the granary to decompose. Yi Chun raised a knife and cut off a piece of steak. The cross-section was snowflake-shaped, the meat was very firm, and it even felt a little warm to the touch. This reminded him of how well done the beef should be. I only eat medium rare, any more will make the meat too old. No one really likes to eat beef with blood, no, no, no. When I eat beef, I only eat it medium rare, that is, let the cow bask in the sun outside, and then I hold the cow and eat it directly. Seeing Yi Chun's inexplicable smile, Angelina thought, does Mai have any special interest in cows? Yi Chun looked up and saw that everyone was looking at him, coughed dryly, and then put the steak on the hot iron plate. Under the treatment of a little grease, the steak sizzled with a lot of steam, and Yi Chun skillfully turned it over and sealed the sides. When the steak is slightly browned, Yi Chun uses tongs to place it on the plate. After being cut with a knife, the steak reveals an almost pink texture, and the meat is so tender that it is dripping with red sweat. Yi Chun imitated the action on the internet, picked up a handful of coarse salt, and slowly sprinkled it down his elbow. Yi picked up a piece of steak and put it into his mouth. His eyes flashed a little light. This is completely different from other wild pork meat, it's delicious. Yi Chun tasted a piece, and couldn't help sighing that although the monsters in the Supreme Continent have strong attack power, it is really delicious. The fat content in the meat of mad cow is quite high, so the whole piece of beef can have a mellow flavor even without any spices. Seeing that the World Channel was still discussing his affairs, Yi Chun casually threw 100 units of mad beef on it to trade some crystal cores. Food that was no longer in short supply instantly became a hot commodity, and every lord wanted to taste the taste of mad cows. Yi Chun saw that the cavalry broke the formation and they were eating in full swing, and soon there were more empty wine barrels beside them. The cloudy sky finally shed a ray of sunshine. Yi Chun looked around the entire territory, and murmured, it's almost time to upgrade to the 3rd level territory. The 20th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun brought his territory to the Forest of Elves, sighing that the city wall cut a clear boundary line in the dense forest. Level 3 territory, castle. Construction cost, 500 units of fine iron ore, 4,000 units of iron Oregon, 1,000 units of wood, 10,000 units of stone, 150 crystal nuclei, 10,000 energy points. Territory area, 2,000 yards. Lord Core. The probability of summoning special units is increased, and the number of summoned units is doubled. Building. Unlock the 3rd level workshop, unlock the 3rd level granary, unlock the 3rd level warehouse. The 3rd level territory brings not only the expansion of the territory area, but also allows Yi Chun to upgrade the 3rd level workshop and unlock more city defense facilities and props. And some epic level blueprints also require a 3rd level territory to build. 423. Do you want to upgrade the stone castle of the 2nd level territory to the castle of the 3rd level territory? Confirm. A large number of resources disappeared from the warehouse, and the entire territory began to undergo earth-shaking changes. The first thing to move is the territory border. Sighing, the city wall made a rumbling sound, and the pitch-black wall began to extend outward with the city gate as the dividing point. Countless birds and bats fled in all directions over the area. Monsters who had no time to dodge were smashed into debris by the city wall of Sai, and towering giant trees were uprooted and instantly turned into timber resources and flew into the warehouse. 3 rings of walls and buildings rise from around the stone castle. The entire stone castle was disassembled and reconstructed, and the simple Qingxi became polished white stone bricks, and the corridors extended from the gate to the surroundings, forming neat roads. Yi Chun and Angelina stood in the open area of the territory, surrounded by the sound of stones colliding and wood splitting, and the whole territory was filled with faint smoke, as if a titan was slowly getting up from the ground. When all is said and done, Yi Chun saw that the level of the Lord interface has successfully changed to a 3rd level castle. The 3rd level workshop has been unlocked, the 3rd level tool blueprint has been unlocked. All kinds of blueprints in the alchemy workshop have been unlocked. The Lord's core has been upgraded. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Yi Chun and Angelina walked along the corridor formed by the white stone pillars to the castle gate, surrounded by brand new houses, which can be removed or set as living areas through the Lord interface. Not far from the castle, Yi Chun saw a secondary workshop independent in an area. Level 3 workshop. Construction cost, 200 units of fine iron ore, 1,000 units of iron ore, 2,000 units of wood, 3,000 units of stone and 5,000 energy points. 3rd level forging platform. The speed of forging equipment is increased by 5 times, and the forging loss is reduced by 10%. 3rd level smelting furnace. The decomposition speed is increased by 2 times, and the output is increased by 20%. Tool blueprint. Unlock the projectile vehicle of the third-level city defense facility, the arrow tower of the third-level city defense facility, the common-level equipment of refined iron armor. Very good. With the third-level workshop equipment, the manufacturing speed will also increase. Yi Chun did not hesitate to upgrade the workshop to level 3. The original exquisite wooden house was expanded outwards to form a T-shaped workshop area. The number of workbenches has been increased to 3, under Yi Chun's setting, allowing troops and subjects to enter independent forging. Yi Chun looked at the properties of the catapult, and found that it can use large stones to defend by throwing it. The filling speed and power are not bad. If it is combined with various props in the alchemy workshop, it can cause a large-scale blasting attack. Take the time to build a few units to try, but now that you have upgraded to a third-level territory, you can create an epic-level defensive building prism beam of light. This thing is a big killer against high-level enemies. Angelina's eyes are full of novelty, and the whole territory has taken on a new look, making her almost unrecognizable from the small stone castle before. Honey, are we going to live in this big castle from now on? Yi Chun nodded with a smile. The castle has 7 floors, and each floor has a large number of rooms for living and working. Angelina trotted along the corridor covered with red carpets, opened the door of a room next to her, and tickled Yi Chun lightly with her fingers. Honey, let's try to see if this room is suitable for living. Noon. The warriors of the temple and the cavalry who broke the formation returned from the wide city gate. After the area of the territory expanded, the majestic sighing city wall and the towering castle could be seen from a distance. Praise the Lord, we need to work harder to protect such a vast territory. Yi threw the prey under his feet outside the granary, and after circling a few times in the sky, he found Yi Hu sitting in the courtyard. My lord, hey, why do you look so tired? Yi Chun coughed dryly. How can? Okay, but Ashan and the others found that the world tree has grown up. Yi Chun raised his head immediately. Really? With the expansion of the area of the territory, the forest where the world tree seedlings are located will completely cover the towering giant trees around the misty forest and become a part of the territory. When Yi Chun came to this tree Lin Shi, he could only tell where he was from the tree house between the branches. Except that there were no monsters, it was completely similar to the foggy forest outside the territory. But when Yi Chun really stepped into the forest, he could clearly feel a special guidance. Following the guide all the way, Yi Chun saw Yer and Yishan facing him in front of him, and stood quietly in the same place. They turned their heads when they heard the sound of a branch breaking behind them, and said in surprise, "Ah! It's the Lord." Yi Chun pushed aside the branches blocking the way, and the world tree was exuding emerald green light, and the surrounding towering giant trees echoed each other in the dim light, faintly passing green light spots. I didn't expect that while upgrading the territory, the world tree can also grow together. Yi Chun was worried that if the growth cycle of the world tree was too long, he might not be able to wait for it to leave the growth stage for many years, but now this problem has been easily solved. Now the seedlings of the world tree have grown to a height of nearly 4 meters and the bright green branches hang down to the surroundings, as if to envelop the entire forest. Its effect has not changed in particular, but Yi Chun can feel that his relationship with it is gradually getting closer. Walking in this woods, he will occasionally unconsciously avoid the scattered branches around him, like some kind of strange sixth sense. Is this how the world tree owner feels? Yi Chun took Yi and the others out of the forest contentedly. As long as he continues to increase the level of the territory, he believes that he will soon see the world tree out of the growth stage. The area of the third-level territory has become very wide. It seems that we need to further plan the patrol route, and then manufacture a new batch of city defense equipment for defense. Yi Chun couldn't wait to come to the workshop, and took out a blueprint inlaid with crystals and gold edges. Sigh on the walls. Yi Chun smoothed out the drawing in his hand. A transparent sky blue projection appeared in the sky, and the staggered and orderly transistor columns climbed up from below, forming a shuttle-shaped cavity at the top, and the last prism floated above the cavity. Rotate slowly and float erratically. Prism beam. Epic level defense tool. Construction cost: 200 units of fine iron ore, 2,000 units of stone materials, 30 crystal nuclei, 3,000 energy points. Need to be built on the defensive building or fortification table. Converging rays. Choose a prism beam as the main prism. Every additional prism beam nearby can increase the ray power of the main prism by 50% and produce a maximum of 500% increased strength. Overload. Continuous use of the convergent rays will cause the prism beam to be damaged and melted. Put up. A prism beam of light is generated from the surface of the city wall of size, and crystal clear blue crystals are strewn below, presenting a cone shape as a whole. A half-meter-long shuttle-shaped prism floats on the top, smooth and transparent. Yi Chun tried to push it with his hands, and the prism moved slightly, but returned to the top of the hollow after letting go. The attack of the prism beam of light was silent. Yi Chun saw that the crystal instantly lit up from the base, and the prism flashed 25 bright lights, and then a beam of light fell straight from the top of the city wall of size to the open space, and a monster that was approaching instantly emitted black smoke. This hit rate is too high. Yi Chun saw that after the prism light beam turned on the automatic attack mode, the attack frequency was extremely fast, and every time it flickered, it took away an approaching monster, until no monster dared to go to this area. One thing is not good, the lethality is too high, causing all the monsters to turn into coke. Yi Chun opened the Lord interface and found that the ray intensity of the prism beam can really be adjusted. Wow, the current ray intensity is 100%, in my opinion, 50% can almost roast the second-order monster half-cooked. Yi Chun is in a good mood. After the third-level territory, most of the buildings can be built, but the resources accumulated before have basically bottomed out. Resources will not increase in value if they are placed there. Only when they become combat power can they stay by my side forever. With the last resources left, Yi Chun hummed a ditty and walked down the city wall of size, walking towards the backyard of the castle. The building that Yi Chun wanted to build before the first wave of beasts came is finally available. Healing Hot Spring. Rare level building. Construction cost. 2,000 units of stone, 2,000 units of wood, 10 crystal nuclei and 2,000 energy points. Surge of heat. The construction area does not need to be close to the water source, and the spring water can be automatically generated through energy points. Healing spring water. Creatures in the healing hot spring can slowly recover from injuries and recover their spiritual power. The backyard of the castle is very large, and Yi Chun rearranged the surrounding houses to leave a rectangular open space for the healing hot spring. Put up. Yi Chun saw that his resources were completely emptied except for food and energy points, and the ground began to shake. The pure white jade-like masonry forms an ellipse-like border, and the grass in the middle collapses instantly, forming an uneven bottom of the pool. Yi Chun clicks to add healing spring water. The energy points are slowly decreasing, and the water level at the bottom of the pool is rising rapidly. After a while, the whole hot spring pool was overflowing with steaming spring water, and the backyard of the castle was like a fairyland. Yi and the others went to the alchemy workshop to find Angelina. The temple warriors and the formation-breaking cavalry are hunting outside. The energy points in the Lord interface are still increasing. Now I'm the only one left. Yi Chun took off his shirt in a relaxed manner, and slowly slid his whole body into the spring water along the edge of the hot spring. The water temperature was slightly scalding hot, but after enduring it for a while, the pores all over his body felt wide open. Yi Chun felt a little drowsy under the effect of the healing spring water, and vaguely saw a figure coming from the steam. My lord. Yi Chun submerged his upper body under the surface of the water and took a closer look. It turned out to be Emily. Well, it's me. I'm here to heal. Emily walked through the corridor, walked to the edge of the hot spring and squatted down slowly. The nun's clothes outlined a perfect curve. Yi Chun looked down, but luckily the spring water was muddy and steaming. Emily smiled and said, as the Lord injured, why don't you come to me? The fourth order holy healing technique can quickly recover from injuries. Yi Chun remembered the scene of being given the holy healing technique last time, and suddenly felt a little dry. I should be able to handle it now, right? Right. Emily didn't speak when she saw Yi Chun gently pull up the nun's clothes. Then sit on the edge of the hot spring, submerge your legs in the water, your slender brows are wrinkled and then completely relieved. It really has a healing effect. At this time, there was a bluffing sound in the air. Fire, fire, fire. Yi and the others spread their wings and flew towards here, and when they saw Yi Chun, they slid down excitedly and plunged into the spring minister. Wow, so hot, so hot. Yi struggled to grab the edge of the pool and pulled his wet wings out of the water. It's a hot spring. Ashan, you two don't bother the Lord. Yi Chun quickly said. It doesn't matter, it's a healing hot spring, which has the effect of healing. The three of them walked across to Yi Chun, and sat by the pool just like Emily, submerging their legs and wing claws in the hot spring water, and the small wounds on them gradually healed and recovered. The healing effect is indeed very effective. Yi Chun decided to build 2 healing hot springs in the residential areas of the breakers and temple warriors when resources are sufficient, so that they can better recover from injuries and spirits after they return from hunting in the evening. Seeing Yi and the others eager to try, Yi Chun took a blanket and draped it over his body, and stepped out of the water from one side step. Emily, you guys go down and try too. Yi wondered, isn't the Lord with us? Emily smiled and said nothing, and gently patted Yi's head. As soon as Yi Chun came to the corridor, he saw Angelina walking hurriedly. Honey, Yi and the others said the castle was on fire, but I didn't see any smoke. Yi Chun wiped his wet hair with a blanket and said, Lena, I just built a healing hot spring in the backyard, and Emily and the others are there. Angelina's eyes lit up, her tail flicked quickly, and she said excitedly, that's great. I want to take a hot spring too. Yi Chun came to the top of the castle, and the breeze made him feel cool. The view here is excellent, overlooking most of the territory. On the city wall of Sai, arrow towers and rechargeable ballistas are arranged in a staggered manner, forming a solid shooting circle. The monsters in the elf forest can only wander outside and dare not get too close. Yi Chun tapped the railing lightly with his hands. The development speed of the territory exceeds any simulation results. After upgrading the 3rd level territory, it takes a period of time to accumulate resources. The next goal is the essence of the Lord. According to the simulation results, the ogre lair will be refreshed on the 27th day, which will be the source of the first Lord essence. The 27th day of the Supreme Continent. Area 5 of the Forest of Fairies in the Western Continent. The core of the Lord is now located in the deepest room on the 3rd floor of the castle, and only Yi Chun and Angelina are allowed to enter through the access control settings. Yi Chun touched the angular surface with his right hand, and the core of the Lord slowly emitted bright light like breathing. Call all. The dim purple light enveloped the entire room, which reminded Yi Chun of the scene when he summoned Angelina for the first time. 2 slender figures emerged from the light. They are almost identical in appearance. Their wings are pitch black without any white feathers, their skin is light purple, and there is a touch of eye shadow at the corner of their eyes, making them look extraordinarily pretty. Fallen Man, AB level unit, the lower level of the 1st level, immune to spiritual magic below the 3rd level, has the skill Soul Whip, and can use his own spiritual power as a weapon to severely damage the enemy's mind. The fallen heavenly beings are tall, with a quiet and steady personality. They lowered their heads silently and whispered, My lord, the fallen heavenly people will serve you. Yi Chun nodded in satisfaction. He didn't expect to be able to summon 2 special units this time. After the 3rd level territory, the probability of summoning has increased a lot. Make a name for yourselves. The fallen heavenly sisters looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. Name. Yi Chun quietly waited for them to think. Kessa. Kath. Keisha and Kath showed a smile, and followed Yi Chun to the alchemy workshop. Angelina saw the 2 fallen angels, her eyes were full of novelty. Wow. The wings are from black. Let me touch them. Kesha and Kath were particularly close to Angelina, who was a succubus, and soon became regulars in the alchemy workshop. And they didn't choose to live in the tree house, but chose 2 adjacent rooms in the castle to live in, helping Angelina do some territory planning. Yi Chun moved out a box of prepared alchemy props Froststorm from the alchemy workshop. After the Lord level reaches the 3rd level intermediate, the size of the mirror world can also be manipulated at will, and can extend up to 5 meters in all directions. Yi Chun forcefully dragged the Froststorm image out of the mirror, and beads of sweat soon appeared on his forehead. 1 box should be enough. Now the Froststorm image can reach half the power of the original version, which is already very scary. There was the sound of horseshoes at the city gate. The number of breaker cavalry has also increased to 26, of which there are 2 breaker priests in the 2 teams. My lord, as you said, there are a large number of ogres behind the southern hillside, and they are gradually encroaching on the surrounding area. Yi Chun took out the Staff of Annihilation and signaled Furbin to hold the Froststorm mirror image in his arms. Let's go. The bones are stiff after being bored in the territory for the past few days. Go and see what the ogre is capable of. Angelina blew a whistle, and Harlan walked up to Yi Chun's side happily, then lay down on the ground, rubbing his head against Yi Chun's arm. Yi Chun and Angelina rode on her run together, and looked back to see the majestic city wall of Sighing, with 4 prism beams refracting the sunlight and emitting a dazzling light. DeWitt had learned about today's action last night, and led the temple warriors to clean up the monsters along the way early in the morning. Yi Chun could occasionally see temple warriors squatting in the woods. When they saw Yi Chun, their eyes were full of excitement and awe, and they bowed their heads silently to salute him. Furbin stepped forward with 4 hooves, and the momentum of breaking the formation wrapped the entire team in it, and quickly interspersed among the trees. The trees gradually thinned out. Yi Chun scratched Loon's mane, and saw a raised hillside in front of him, and the surrounding air was filled with the smell of blood. It's here. Furbin raised his hand, and all the formation-breaking cavalry stopped in an instant, hiding behind the bushes. Yi Chun jumped off the horse and pushed aside the bushes to observe carefully. All kinds of bloody bones and carrion were scattered on the open space in front of the hillside, and flies and mosquitoes circled above and made buzzing sounds. There was a cracking sound from the bushes on the opposite side, and a group of 2-meter-tall ogres came out of the bushes, holding the monsters that had been torn in half, and they could no longer tell the original race. There was a little excitement in Furbin's tone. My lord, we, Song Zhang, can tear them all to shreds in one charge. That's too much noise, and you can't charge in the narrow cave, right? Yi Chun patted the wooden box in his arms, and there was a clanging sound inside. Angelina smiled. Let's watch my performance next. The ogres walked into the cave one after another, and when the last ogre couldn't wait to eat the monster, a figure wearing a black leather coat emerged from the bushes. Before the ogre could react, Angelina's hair was flying in all directions, and there were circles of ripples in the air. Mind manipulation. Countless thoughts detonated in the ogre's small brain. Its mouth opened slightly, bloody saliva slowly dripped down its fangs, and its eyes stared forward obsessively. Angelina turned back confidently and said, Okay, dear. Furbin put the wooden box in his arms on the open space, and seeing the ogre throw away the prey in his hands, he clumsily held the wooden box in his arms. Yi Chun's evil taste. Lena, can you control it to speak? Angelina wondered. It should be fine, but the voice is very unclear. What do you want to do, dear? After a while, the ogre burst into the cave with a wide mouth and a wide grin, the gurgling wooden box still in its arms. Ahahahahaha, the frost storm is coming. The ogre who was eating monsters in the cave looked at it blankly, obviously thinking hard about the meaning of this sentence. Immediately afterwards, the wooden boxes scattered in all directions with a bang, and countless frost storms disintegrated into fragments and disappeared. Crunching. The first to break were the ogre's arms, and it saw a layer of hoarfrost gradually spread to its shoulders, and then the arms fell to the ground with a thud, smashing into pieces like gravel. A storm mixed with snowflakes instantly enveloped the entire cave. The ogre struggled and ran out of the cave. The extremely cold wind and frost poured into their mouths, and even the wailing disappeared in the sound of the wind. Yi Chun saw the air conditioning continuously spraying out from the hole, and after a while, the open space in front was covered with white frost. While waiting for the temperature in the cave to warm up, there are ogres who keep returning to the cave from outside, and they are all turned into hedgehogs by Furbin's spears. When the cold air gradually dissipated, Yi Chun moved forward with the annihilation staff, and a fist-sized ball of light appeared in the air, emitting bright light outward. Although the lighting technique is only a second-level magic, the effect is very good. As long as a small amount of mental power is provided, it can continuously illuminate the surrounding environment. Okay, my minister. The ogre's lair seemed to have experienced an unprecedented blizzard, and all items were frozen into ice, reflecting cyan light under the light ball. Yi Chun walked along the lair, and there were ogres in various poses on the road, all frozen in place, and some of them were biting the front legs of goblins in their mouths. The frost in the depths of the lair gradually decreased, and finally a black statue appeared in front of Yi Chun. Oh, is this what Beelzebub looks like? It looks so ugly. In addition to Beelzebub's head, the statue can also see the appearance of the devil. From the neck down, it is a pile of rotten meat with countless mouths. Yi Chun raised the sword of holy light and slashed it down from above, and the whole statue instantly shattered into black stones. In the center of the stone is a crystal that exudes a strange light, which looks like a miniature version of the Lord's core. Yi Chun picked up the essence of the Lord, and the entire lair lost its vitality in an instant. The essence of the Lord, legendary level material, has a strange power that spans time and space, and is the raw material for upgrading territories above level 4. World Channel. The Ogre Lair in the number 5 area of the Western Continent's Fairy Forest has been destroyed by the Lord, Yi Chun. My unit was just taken away by ogres, and I was worried that the territory would be destroyed. I didn't expect it to be taken away by a bunch of people. This big guy named Yi Chun is too fierce. What type of arms and talents are you, boss? It can't be such a coincidence. There seems to be a big guy named Yi Chun who solved the mad cows in the Evernight Plain. Impossible, absolutely impossible. On the way Yi Chun returned to the territory, the temple warriors gradually came out of the woods to join the team. When he reached the city gate, Yi Chun had already formed the strongest guard composed of 2 A-level units behind him. At this time, a scroll covered with green patterns appeared in Yi Chun's hand. Deadly Vines. Epic level drawings. Construction cost. Every 100 yards requires 20 units of food, 1 crystal nucleus, 20 units of wood, and 20 units of iron ore. Poisonous thorns. Spikes with weak toxins will grow on the vines, which will gradually make the prey lose their will. Growth. The deadly vines will absorb part of the vitality of the prey, and gradually extend the vines to both sides as the territory borders. To the left of the gate, tiny vines broke through the ground and spread upward along the sighing city wall, bringing a lot of life to the dark wall. Yi Chun stretched out his index finger, and a vine entangled from the air, and from the swing of its tentacles, Yi Chun could feel its joy. The temple warriors and the formation-breaking cavalry watched Yi Chun interact with the deadly vines, and were shocked. The Lord is indeed omnipotent, even plants can be subdued by him. Yi Chun turned back and said, "Its name is the deadly vine, you can throw the prey nearby, let it help to gather in a pile, and absorb some vitality to grow." The temple warrior said solemnly, "Obey, Lord Tianju." Inside the castle, Yi Chun put the Lord's essence on the bookshelf. Upgrading the 4th level territory requires not only a Lord's essence, but also a lot of resources. According to Yi Chun's calculations, if the other lords develop smoothly, they can be promoted to a 3rd level territory before the 2nd wave of beasts, that is, around the 40th day. And if you want to upgrade the 4th level territory, most of the resources you need can only be supplemented by the rewards from the 2nd wave and the 3rd wave of beasts. Of course, if you can kill mad cows and various monster lairs like Yi Chun, you can also get resources faster. Yi Chun opened the simulator interface, just like crushing an ant to kill the ogre nest, which greatly increased his confidence. Can I fight the frost dragon now? Yi Chun started the simulation with the idea of bringing the territory to the northern continent. Day 28. You have brought your territory to the northern continent, and the severe cold has slowed down everyone's activities. Day 29. The deadly vines disappear, and the rechargeable ballista cannot work. Day 30. You built the ice spear tower, and a snowstorm hits. Day 31. You command the troops to shovel the thick snow on the road. Day 32. The frost dragon Adrio stands on the city wall of sighing, the converging ray punches a hole in its huge dragon wings, the dragon's breath skips the territory, you are dead. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Frost Dragon Adrio, I finally know its name. From dying when we met to causing some damage to it, it seems that I still have the strength to fight. Yi Chun is not discouraged at all. It seems that the frost giant Adrio is wandering in the North Continent area. When the territory is upgraded to level 4, a solution will be found through simulation. The road has to be walked step by step, you must know that this is a dragon slaying. The 30th day of the Supreme Continent. Yi Chun picked up a scroll with a whole body of white in the workshop. Stigmata. Epic weapon. Materials required. 200 units of fine iron ore, 50 monster crystal nuclei, 5,000 energy points. Wufang. Stigmata deals 200% more damage to heavy armor. Elimination of evil. The damage caused by the stigmata to the undead and demons has a sacred attribute, which continuously produces a purification effect. Yi Chun decided to make a stigmata in advance. Although there are not a lot of demons in the elf forest, there are still 7 days before the World Channel will announce the arrival of the 2nd wave of beasts. According to the situation of the last beast tide, Yi Chun had to prepare for resisting the beast tide in the void. The clone of Samar came to the void last time and caused me, CFCB, a lot of trouble. Will there still be the original Sin Demon this time? Yi Chun saw that before receiving the information of the arrival of the beast horde, the simulation results still showed that he had successfully passed the second wave of beast horde in the Forest of Elves, as if he had completely forgotten the land of the void. Perhaps this is the special feature of the coordinate being 0. Yi Chun added the material to the forging table. The phantoms of 10 electric swords are floating on it. Epic weapons take 8 hours to craft. Yi Chun came to the residential area of the broken cavalry. As the number of centaurs increased, the residential area became extremely lively, and Yi Chun even saw some centaurs trading wine as an equivalent. I've been storing the 2 glasses of fruit wine left over from the last party in the granary. How about giving me your special biscuits today? 2 glasses of fruit wine, okay. I'm going to get special biscuits right now. By the way, don't you have special biscuits too? I don't understand. Miss Jillian likes biscuits very much. If you give her biscuits as a gift. Yi Chun turned and left helplessly. Isn't Jillian just the broken priest in their team? By the way, they can still store fruit wine in the granary. Why didn't I know there was such a function? The living area of the temple warriors is very quiet. After being promoted to the 3rd level territory, they no longer live in tents, but change to normal residences. But according to DeWitt, many temple warriors still miss the feeling of living in tents. Sometimes he will organize the temple warriors to go hunting, and then sigh and set up camp outside the city walls. Yi Chun made many small screwdrivers and grinding tools in the workshop, and then taught them how to play chess and common chess. This immediately sent the temple warriors into a frenzy. They polished each chess piece and chessboard by hand, and took great pains for the materials, and the horns of the mad cow last time became a very precious sought-after item. Seeing Yi Chun approaching, DeWitt opened the window and said, "My lord, do you have a mission?" Yi Chun said, "It's okay, my god." DeWitt asked expectantly, "Then kill a game." Yi Chun waved his hands again and again. He once played a game of chess with the opponent. DeWitt successfully lost the game through superb skills. It was approaching evening. There was a burst of light in the workshop. Yi Chun opened the door and entered, and saw a huge sword covered with patterns lying on the forging table. The épée has no front, the blade is extremely thick, and the hilt bends downward, requiring 2 hands to wield it freely. Yi Chun raised the stigmata with both hands, and the pattern on it gradually lit up from the hilt to the top of the giant sword. Hack, cut, defend. Master these 3 basic postures, and you will master the essence of the giant sword. Yi Chun stood the giant sword in front of him, holding the hilt with both hands. It's time to go to the underground world. If you see Balfinger's avatar, just kill him. The 37th day of the Supreme Continent. Void. The dense fog gradually dissipated, and the rustling of leaves and the sound of insects suddenly disappeared, leaving only the endless white fog and the sighing city wall standing on the border of the territory. Yi Chun stood on the top of the castle and looked down. From time to time, temple warriors and formation-breaking cavalry looked up in surprise, and then walked out of the territory to touch the surrounding white mist. These are all newly summoned units in the Forest of Elves. They have not yet entered the void, and naturally they have not experienced the last battle. Not surprisingly, a striking red frame lit up on the Lord's interface, flashing in front of Yi Chun, urging him to check it as soon as possible. Yi Chun looked out of the territory and said in a low voice, "It's time to come back. The beast tide will break out in 6 days, 15 hours and 25 minutes. Lords, please prepare for defense, protect the territory and the core of the Lords, and defeat all incoming enemies. Due to unstable factors, the void land will descend on the beast tide in 6 days, 15 hours and 25 minutes. The host can choose to fight or descend on other coordinates." Yi Chun chose to return to the void today for 2 purposes, one of which is to confirm whether there will be news of the second wave of beasts here. The second purpose is to descend to the underground world from here. According to the simulation results, there will be a giant rat lair near the territory, which can not only provide a lot of resources but also obtain the core of the second school lord. Since the news of the second wave of beast swarms has been confirmed, let's do a simulation before going to the underground world. After this period of development, the number of prism light beams on the sighing city wall has reached 8, and Yi Chun thought that if he met the clone of Samar last time, he would definitely be able to shoot it with the convergent rays and howl. Yi Chun turned on the simulator and started the simulation with the idea of resisting the second wave of beasts in the void. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Day 43. You will descend the territory into the void. Day 44. There is no change in the white mist. You notice that Emily and Yi have strange eyes. The fallen sisters and Angelina are urging you to go to the alchemy workshop. In the evening, you are trapped in the living room. They attacked. 45th day. You lie in bed, your body and brain are almost broken. 46th day. You lose your breath with a distorted smile. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Looking at the implicit description of the simulation results, Yi Chun can probably guess what actually happened, but isn't this too outrageous? Fortunately, the two priests who broke the formation didn't join the battle, otherwise I would definitely have GG on the first day. Yi Chun saw below the castle. Emily walked out of the gate, then looked up at herself, smiled and waved her hands. In other words, when the second wave of beasts comes, she will also. Yi Chun turned his eyes to the distance. No need to think too much, it must be something that can only be done by the original sin, desire. These original sin demons are really more troublesome than one. Last time Samar at least had an appearance ceremony, but this time nothing appeared and affected the entire territory, which made Yi Chun a little confused. But he can probably analyze that this is another kind of mental attack, and the purpose is also very simple, to stir up some kind of emotion, so that he can die helplessly in joy. Yi Chun wondered, if that's the case, why don't I use the Staff of Annihilation? Maybe it's because they control me so I can't use it. Then when you first find the abnormality, use the cracking aura to clear their negative status. Yi Chun refreshed the simulation opportunity with such thoughts, and then entered the simulation again. Day 43. You will descend the territory into the void. Day 44. You take out the Staff of Annihilation and get ready. When you see Emily and Yi looking strange in their eyes, immediately use the halo of disintegration, and then they throw you to the ground. 45th day. You drank the 31st bottle of powdered red potion. Day 46. You lose your breath with a distorted smile. Closing square bracket. Opening square bracket, closing square bracket. Yi Chun frowned. The 7th order cleavage halo didn't work. There is definitely something wrong. Even if it is level suppression, it will definitely temporarily curb their thoughts. It is impossible to have no effect. Yi Chun turned off the simulator interface. This time the beast swarm is obviously more difficult. Where the enemies come from, where to hide, where did the 31 bottles of powder red potion come from? Maybe you should ask Angelina. She is an expert in this field, maybe she can find something strange. Yi Chun decided to talk about this matter again at night, because now it is necessary to bring the territory to the underground world as soon as possible, and seize the core of the giant rat's lair. Choose the number 6 area of the underground world, and the number of days to come is 1 day. The territory was instantly shrouded in white mist. Yi Chun opened his eyes, and the territory was dark, only the 8 prism beams shone like lighthouses. He raised his head and saw the boundless starry sky. In the deep and dark night sky, countless star clusters surround both sides of the Milky Way, dragging gorgeous trajectories and slowly rotating, driving a little bit of stars. If I didn't know the simulation results in advance, I wouldn't believe that this is an underground dome. Yi Chun's eyes are gradually adapting to the darkness. The top of the castle is illuminated by starlight and emits a faint light. At this time, one after another oil lamps were lit on the street, and the cavalry who broke the formation held torches in their hands, and together with the temple warriors, they lit up the entire territory. DeWitt came to the front of the castle with a torch in his hand, his eyes shining with gold light. Lord, please issue instructions. Yi Chun picked up the Staff of Annihilation, and a transparent ball of light appeared in the sky, illuminating the sky above the castle. You and Furbin each lead a team of temple warriors and formation-breaking cavalry to find the giant rat's lair near the territory, and report to me as soon as you find the location. Obey. Yi Chun saw 2 teams of soldiers holding torches, walking out of the territory from the front and rear gates, and gradually disappearing in the darkness. The prism light beams are constantly flashing around, shooting out dazzling rays of light to the bottom of the sighing city wall, and destroying the monsters that try to get close. The next thing is to wait for them to find the location of the giant rat's lair. Now that we have come to the underground world, let's build the gathering pool by the way. Pool of Stars. Epic level building, the only building. Construction cost. 4,000 units of stone materials, 500 units of refined iron ore, 50 crystal nuclei, 5,000 energy points. Lengthing. The star pool collects the power from the starlight, and generates the star-gathering spring water with special attributes, which can quickly recover from injuries, and has a significant effect on improving experience points for low-level units. The level of Yi Chun's arms now presents a stepwise gap. The earlier the arms are summoned, after many battles, the highest level has reached the 4th order intermediate. And the lowest level of arms has only one level superior, and can only be divided into different teams for hunting. Now, Juxingquan can quickly narrow the level gap, allowing newly summoned units to join the main team earlier. Yi Chun came to the left side of the castle, took out a scroll with twinkling stars and slowly opened it. Build it. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.